dust on my name and hands. Preacher said, son, stay straight, but he never did understand. Sheriff took my daddy's land for a deal that turned to dirt. So I took my pride and my 45 and I gave back what he earned. Yeah, I broke the law, but the law broke first. It turned his back when the good folks heard. You can call me sinner, you can call me cursed, but I broke the law, 'cause the law broke first. Judge in town wore a Sunday smile, but he drank with the devil at night. Told me, boy, you can't win that fight, but I've been wrong and right. So I lit a match to the courthouse steps, watched the truth go up in flames. Sometimes you gotta make your stand, even when they call your name. Yeah, I broke the law, but the law broke first. It turned its back when the good folks heard. You can call me sinner, you can call me cursed, but I broke the law, 'cause the law broke first. Now I ain't no hero, I ain't no saint, but I know damn well what justice ain't. If the law won't bleed for the people's work, then it ain't worth the paper it's written on, sir. Yeah, I broke the law, but the law broke first. I broke the law, but the law broke first. You stole my faith and left me worse. You can call me wanted, I've seen worse, 'cause I broke the law when the law broke first. I broke the law, 'cause the law broke first. The law.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single time seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control. Late night in Moscow, where nothing
eternal pain.
Here we go.
Welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
What is going on, Hive? I hope that everybody's ready for an awesome Friday night call-in stream. I know that I certainly am. I look forward to these streams all week, getting a chance to hear from you all in the Hive. I will be dropping that link shortly. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm your host, Birdie. I go live weeknights at 7 p.m. Central. Welcome to the Hive Mind. If you're somebody that likes to think past the headlines and you like to think critically and question everything, you have found your friends. You are amongst your people, or you have found your people. You are amongst friends. It's like whenever I have to go to the bathroom, I either say my dog's on the roof or I got to race like a piss horse. I might be dyslexic. I don't know. Undiagnosed. Nonetheless, we are going to be talking about the Idaho 4 case. Yesterday, we had a open discussion, if that's what you want to call it, about the living room, specifically around Chris Whitcomb, talking about how there is a treasure trove of evidence in that living room that's going to tell us what happened with the timeline and accomplices. And we were wondering if we were just looking at it the wrong way. So feel free to call in and talk about that. Feel free to call in and share your theory, rant, disagree with me. We haven't had many callers that call in and totally disagree, which I would welcome that. I'd be very curious and more than happy to have that conversation, as long as it's a true conversation. You know, that's what I think's missing from society, is some depth in conversations. Once there's a little bit of feathers getting ruffled, once there's the slightest bit of disagreement, people shut down. Here come the insults. Here come the classic talking points, and it's just a dumpster fire. So let's try to avoid that if you are going to be calling in and disagreeing. As you're filing in, please go ahead, hit that like button if you have not. Whoops, I might have the wrong screen shared. There we go. Please hit that like button if you have not. I have the QR code there, so if you'd like to screenshot this and then go to your Photos app when the live concludes, that way you can tap on it. It'll bring up the Hive merch store, the Spotify playlist for all the intro songs, my TikTok, and our Discord. Same thing with Hive Plus. That'll give you access to the emojis in the chat. Same with the loyalty badge next to your name. On some Saturdays, probably 1 or 2 Saturdays a month, I do a Hive Plus War Room where the chat is reserved for the Hive Plus members only. Everybody can watch those streams. However, that's the day that I do shut down the chat for the Hive's version of members. There will not be a War Room tomorrow. I will be doing it the following Saturday, so next Saturday. And real quick, I just want to say apologies to Pineapple Diana and It's Me, Gary, Turn Down the Bass for missing these super chats. Pineapple Diana had said, Whitcomb, hungry little birdie wants more bee crumbs, please. And It's Me, Gary, Turned Down the Bass said, why did Hunter Johnson lock the door that night and touch the knife? Well, isn't that just the $8 million question, or however many millions you want to put on this case? I got to get the software back. Since I moved, I haven't had the super chats pop up, and the chat on my end looks different. So if I miss them, it's not on purpose. And my apologies again, but thank you to everybody who does choose to support this stream financially or throw a super chat or a gift into the live. Now I'm going to share the link. As a reminder, you will not be on camera. We're just going to hear your voice. No speakerphone. If you're watching me on your television, mute your television. Ultimately, if you have YouTube open on your phone and you try to call in, you must shut YouTube first. So you have to close it. If I get an echo or if it's glitchy, it's not personal if I hang up. It's just that there's a bad connection, and for whatever reason, whenever there's a bad connection, it never self-corrects. So here comes the link. I'm going to go ahead and pin that now. And I did have a poll in the chat. It was how much of the Idaho 4 story is actually true. 3% of people said 90 to 100%. 8% of people said 60 to 80%. 37% of people said 30 to 50%. And over half of everybody that voted, which was 52%, said 25% or less. So thank you to everybody who did vote. I'm going to say what's up to everybody, and then the backstage is already full. Holy hell. Look at that. That's awesome, Hive. That gets me fired up. Yes, T-Bud is for you. I moved the jellyfish because it got to the point where UFO Dog sent me a screenshot. She was like, man, people really miss the jellyfish in the background. I was like, I'll move it. It was kind of getting hidden by where I sit, and it was usually over in that corner. But yes, the jellyfish is back. Unfortunately, one of them did hypothetically pass away, so it's just a lone jellyfish now. Sluther Dare, good to see ya. Soulless, Potato Showers, UK Karen, Aria, Sammy says, I love the call-in shows. Right back at you. I do as well. Mom Rad, I'm in me mom's car. Tam Cam, Luna Bliss, shout out to the mods, UFO Dog, Luna Bliss, Discord Dawn, and formerly known as Beck, best mods on YouTube. Kyler Champion said, let's talk to the people that said 90%. LOL. Yes, let's. Brandy's a lurking lurker. What's up, Brandy? Rufus said, LOL, poll birdie. Please work on your mute skills, people, is what Smixon 90,000 said. How did you pick 90,000, Smixon, as the amount of zeros behind your name? I'm so curious about a lot of the people's names that have been picked. Sherry, great to see ya. Yipsy Gecko, Pineapple Diana, Astastic, right? Like that's another name. How does one get such name? Eagles Girl seems to be somewhat explainable as well. Tam Cam. Let's see who else we got. Cardigan, thank you so much for being a member for a month of Hive Plus. Thank you, Lord, for the jewels. Big Lies, Dreaming Eyes. Jess to the Nest. Crime Junkie 72 said, 2 months. Thank you for your loyalty to this case. We'll right back at all of you. It's not always easy getting up here talking about the same stuff, but I do believe that it's imperative, and I still think that it's making a big difference. Blue-Eyed Candy, Goat Award, thank you so much for gifting out 5 Hive Plus memberships. All righty, Hive. What do you say? Let's light this candle. First up, and you all know the drill if you've been tuned in for a while, cue the James Bond music and the corny AI figure of Birdie as a James Bond, and here's Shawley redacted. How are you doing, Shawley?
I'm good, Mr. Birdie. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm stoked. I'm glad that you were the first caller. It feels right. All is right on the Friday night call-in when Shawley, you're first in line. And so what do you got for us?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say I was watching something earlier about the differences between the UK and America, and I was astounded at some of the things. There was things that I didn't know, which
Like
I found.
what?
Like ibuprofen, for example. Sounds silly, but you guys can buy as much ibuprofen as you like. We're limited to 2 boxes. We're not allowed to buy more than 2 boxes of ibuprofen. Yeah, it's just these really, really random things that I didn't know. Like,
out of all things you could have said, that I'm not gonna lie, that is random. That's like the most but unfortunately for the way my brain works, now I'm going to be telling people that same fact. Did you guys know that in the UK, you can't just go buy as much ibuprofen as you want? You're limited to 2 boxes.
Yeah, it's mad, and like the way that your what you would say is gas pumps work. Our petrol stations are very different, and I was amazed. Like, you guys pay for your gas first, and then fill it up. We don't do that. We fill it up and then have to go back. It's just
not
these
here.
really weird things, really, really bizarre. Anyway, enough of that. Another fun thing that happened to me today is my 4 expansions for Psycho Killer arrived, and I had a little look through them.
Nice.
Yeah, they're amazing. We've played the base game a couple of times, but the crime, I can't remember what it's called now. It's in my box next to me. The crime thing, the crime expansion pack. It's based on like the Purge, And I was looking through those
Oh.
cards, and there's cards like Getaway Car, Ambush, Last Man Standing, and these kind of things. And I was like, it's even more. When I was looking at the cards, I was like, oh my God, this one's even more like the case.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because for people that don't know, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but if you look in between the UFO that's abducting the birdie character and then the jellyfish, there's what looks to be a movie cassette player. It says Psycho Killer on it. We've done a stream on it. Thank you, Discord Dawn, for buying me that game. But we had a caller, which, by the way, that clip of it on TikTok, when the Netflix documentary dropped, it has 1 million views.
Oh my God.
Of him calling in and saying that they were playing a game called Psycho Killer, and like 30,000 something likes. It exploded. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what a random clip that led to buying the game and then having it all line up. And to what you're saying now, Shawley, people could say that's crazy. I don't really care whatever you call it. You can look in the box and look at the cards and then look at dynamics of this case, and there is an overwhelming amount of things that overlap. I don't know what it means, but they overlap.
No, I don't know what it means. I think it's interesting that it's played so much there as well. But like, I've just opened up the expansion I was talking about is the Crime Time one, which is based on the Purge. And you've got a card that says Standoff, and it's like a picture of two people facing each other with weapons in their hands. And then you've got Joyride and Ambush, and they were the three that really stuck out to me. And obviously I'm not saying that, this was all a game and whatever. That's clearly not what I'm saying, but it is weird. There are some weird connections there.
It's so weird. And
Really,
also just
really,
way, the way that the call went too with like, if you guys are bored, go on my TikTok. It's the same as my YouTube handle and scroll down to where the title is like, caller said what, and just read the comments about what people are saying about the caller, about how, has anybody looked into him?
Yeah, exactly. It's bizarre. So I'm just going to pivot a quick bit. The Penn State thing. The Penn State thing has been massively on my mind, and I was quite upset because I've spent the last 2 weeks doing deep dive research into something which I now can't release because I feel like it's something that's going to become really interesting. If I, as a woman in her 40s in my home, have managed to find as much information as I have, you better believe that they have. So I don't want to release the things that I've found because I don't want to compromise anything. But what I will say is pill press. Now we know in the house. Bless you, I just saw your message to Mrs. Birdie. I wish we had air. We don't get there. Anyway, one of the things that they found in the house was a pill press. We know this. And my brain started going off on a tangent when I saw the Penn State stuff. And I thought, obviously Ethan was in a fraternity. He then wasn't in that fraternity anymore. What if, completely hypothetical, my own hypothetical tinfoil hat thing, nothing representative of this channel. What if he was helping the other frat guys with producing, and they got upset with him because he didn't want to do it anymore, or they got upset with him because he was making his own supply? What if that happened? That would be one possibility. And what did you tell Adam? She told him about that side of things for Eat with Ethan. It's an interesting one. What else was there?
For whatever reason, the overdose dynamic, the cocaine, the fentanyl, saying all the buzzwords for the algorithm right now. But whenever I think of Detective Lanier talking with Officer Morris, when they're standing outside 1122 and somebody had come up and said they saw the crime scene tape and had heard that his buddy was dead. Now he believes it to be true, and that the rumor out there is that somebody that lived here overdosed on fentanyl. And the fact that he said his buddy, I don't know. I'm serious, and I don't mean anything by this. I'm just saying, I don't know if I've ever referred to a girl being a male as my buddy.
Yeah. And the fact that he
In
said
that context.
he said,
Yeah.
and the fact that he said he,
Yes.
that's always stuck out to me as well. And, you know, interesting. The other thing was the Paul Robinson side of things. I agreed with the older gent on the video that you shared that he should absolutely be in prison. And he, you know, you see things like this happen with with teachers about, you know, them losing their jobs over much smaller things than this. So in my opinion, he should be disbarred because, you know, he is a lawyer, and I found that interesting as well. And with the backpack guy, obviously I watched you and Sammy talking about the footage, and I know that she said she thought it was like a holster. I thought maybe, I don't know if you guys get them there, but we have backpacks that have like a buckle that goes around the front. Possibly that was it. I don't know.
Yeah, that was always that was kind of interesting. And so if you watch the quick cut, I had to go and find my own screenshots because whenever I showed it as the short on the widescreen that YouTube does, the 16:9 ratio, I can't see anything in the short screen if it's not on my phone.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I went and I made different overlays for that. I see what she's talking about for sure
same.
with that side pack. It also makes me feel like I'm going into that kind of schizophrenic mindset again of like, see, there's a gun on his hip or there's this and it's crossing, but it's like clearly a blurry pixelated image that's just creating a shape. Now it does look like something's blurred out and they're hiding something, but it's still like they've done it to that point where we know that there's no way that a definitive answer will ever come out of that image.
No, I completely agree with you. And as I say, when I was sort of looking at it, I was thinking, yeah, I completely understand what she's saying. I completely agree with her. However, obviously, it could just be, you know, a backpack that buckles up at the front, which we, you know, again, I don't know if you have them in America, but we do in the UK. I'm sure you guys probably do. That's what it looked like to me. And I went on a bit of a deep dive and sort of slowed the footage down and took a look, as I always will. And yeah, that's what I saw. But yeah, I know, and I saw. Obviously, I'm sure that Accomplished Day is going to be phoning in, and I'm very excited for her to do so.
Oh yeah, she's backstage.
Good. So I'll let her take the lead on that. But I heard her earlier on Custody Queens talking about some data, which I'm sure you'll be very happy about.
Okay.
So yeah, I will.
I'm looking forward to
it. I will let others have the stage. But thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you, Shali. I look forward, like I said, my long lost aunt, and I don't know if Mr. Shawley Redacted finds it weird if I'd be like, my long lost aunt and uncle. I'd probably just my long lost aunt in the UK. So, but no, I appreciate both of you guys, and I hope you have a fantastic. Go ahead.
He's in bed, and he was in bed last Friday when you said that. So we rewatched the quick cut the next day, and he was like, does he know how old you are? And I was like, I don't know. He was like, you're only in your 40s. You're not old enough to be his auntie. And I was like, well, you never know. There are people that are the same age that are, you know, aunties and stuff. But
I guess. You know what I mean, though. Lost friend. Lost friend.
I'm more than happy to be your auntie. That's completely fine.
All right. I love that. I love that. Well, tell him I said what's up. And Shawley, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I will give you the floor for your signature outro.
Always remember, everybody, Dylan is a wanker.
It's never not funny. All right, Shawley, have a good one. Yep. Thanks. Cheers. Bye. All right, Hive, if anybody was trying to join backstage and it wouldn't let you, I saw a couple of comments. That just means that the backstage is full, which is awesome. But if it didn't let you up initially, feel free to try again in a couple of minutes. And I think Mrs. Birdie just got home. Hello? Can you please turn the air on when you get up there? Thank you. Nice. All right. Next up, we got Dead Men Awake. What's going on, brother man?
What's up, brother? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. What do you got for us this evening?
So I've been thinking a little bit about trying to figure out, like, so essentially, right, like, if you took all the evidence that they have, that for Brian Koberger having done this, right? If you take everything they say points to the crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could make an argument, right, that they could make a defense that he killed Kaylee and Maddie based on what they're saying, right? Cell phone, car, the knife sheath. But you
Yeah.
can never link him to Xana and Ethan, right? There's
Well,
not a single piece of evidence.
I think, and if I'm understanding you correctly, and why I say yeah, is because clearly they're able to put stuff in words that surface level, to your point, they could make the
Right.
argument, right? I mean, we know when you lift up the hood and stuff like that. So I'm following what you're saying. I just want to clarify because I see your point. All of Brian Koberger's evidence that they're saying, I don't know if it's the narrative that's influencing our subconscious thoughts, but I agree with you on that from a standpoint of it all goes towards Maddie and Kaylee. You don't really feel like Brian Koberger has anything for Xana and Ethan. And I don't know if we're alone on that. Hive, let me know in the chat, but continue.
Right. So it's like the only thing that links Brian to them is Dylan's testimony, right? Saying that this guy walked past her. And that puts him on that side of the house at that point, right? Because it always feels like these are two separate crimes. So, like, what's odd is like, are we? I'm starting to truly believe that there are two separate crimes that happened, and I'm thinking, could it be that they're not even connected in any way that we think, and that's what all these missing pieces are.
Okay.
Right? You get what I'm saying? Like they're not even connected at all.
So Sherlock had just said almost at the exact same second that you just said that.
That's the only thing to me that makes it work. If it's drugs, I don't think that fits everybody either. If it's Brian, it doesn't fit everybody either. Like I'm trying to find that one connection because I can't find that connection that ties everyone together.
And it totally seems as if the motives for Kaylee and Maddie would be different than it would be for Ethan and Xana to an extent, right?
100%. 100%.
And why is it that for Kaylee and Maddie, it does seem to be more believable if you had to rank them, which is, I don't even know if that's the right word, but if you had to say which is more believable that Brian Koberger would have a motive to do it to either of those two people, being Dylan, or I'm sorry, not Dylan, Ethan and Xana, or Kaylee and Maddie, I feel like the majority of people would say Kaylee and Maddie.
100%. 1,000%. And what's even interesting is that, like, Brian, like, who knows how much is true, what we're hearing, but, like, you know, Brian all of a sudden withdraws his plea based on this book, Broken Plea, about the hair in Ethan's hand. Well, if he committed the crimes upstairs, then the hair downstairs could be potentially get him off, right? Because they've lumped it all together. So, you know what I'm saying? So what would happen if they found out the hair wasn't Ethan's, right? Like, did they do this thing like it's either all four or none of them? Like, is that how they've positioned this, right?
Do you know what they've done? Is they've positioned it in a way where, and this chat, it's an amazing thing, but it's also, in a way, what I'm sure they were wanting to accomplish, because the amount of thoughts that are coming in and the different ideas. I mean, we've talked about that, and I think it was you that kind of, I've segued off that talking point many times now, where you've said, how wild is it that in the same crime, you have a wannabe serial killer loner stalker who didn't have a connection to them on one side, and then on the other side, you have a Sinaloa cartel prison gang hit. I mean, we are worlds apart, and there's an argument to be made for both, according to the news and according to us, right? It's wild.
100%. And so I started to watch Dylan's third interview again, where the day Brian was arrested and she got called in to be interviewed again, right? The last time by Detective Lake, I think it is. And what's interesting is if you go and even if you read the transcript and you just read through it, every single thing that they talk about and it's all over the place just because it's such a random interview about the, why are you still interviewing her if you got your guy, right? Like, what are we doing? But they talk about the stalker. They talk about all these talking points that the media ends up leaking, attaching to Brian, which is so interesting. Like, there's so many different talking points that has nothing to do with Brian, but the words, like these buzzwords that are in this interview. I'm like, I remember when they said that was Brian, like that Brian was at their restaurant, right? Because he talks about them working together at the same Greek restaurant. It seems like, were they just getting information that they could plug Brian now into the whole house? And the main part of that conversation was Ethan and Zana. That was the main. They kept asking, like, what is Ethan's personality like? Like, is it possible, kind of, that this guy could have done that? Like, is Ethan a tough guy? Is Ethan, It just seemed like they were trying to fit him into that. Like, can we squeeze him into this house now by knowing all the information about everybody in this house?
Well, and it's very strange that with your talking point is that they don't tell us where Ethan and Xana are, and that's what Sherlock. I had a comment up on the screen in the beginning of your call where it's very secretive around Xana and Ethan this entire time. And it goes along with your point of Xana and Ethan and Brian Koberger. It feels a little bit strange if it was just those two and Brian, but you added Kaylee and Maddie to Ethan and Xana. Now Brian somehow can be the umbrella over that. It's odd. It's very odd.
So, because it seems like not only is it two different crimes, it's two different motives, it's two different, like, completely separated. So it's like, it's so bizarre to me because there is not a single thing that links, because it seems like they weren't even almost friends. Like, it seems like almost that Dylan was friends with everybody, right? It doesn't seem like Kaylee was very close. I know Maddie and Xana work together, but it seems like a very distant house in there. Even that night, everybody's in different locations. Nobody's hanging out together.
Let me ask you one last question here.
Yeah.
So with that, or I guess as of late, I know that you like to go down, I'll call them random rabbit holes, and I don't mean any offense by that because...
Oh, no, that's accurate.
Yes, but I'm the same way. Tell me something that you've looked into that's wild lately with this, that connects.
So I've been looking at Molly a lot, and what's interesting is I know that Lena had said that she thinks there was like a Domino's delivery, right? And then you have the Domino's in the trash can, all that. Well, I looked into it. Molly's son, Isaac Segota, was a Domino's delivery driver in 2022.
Yeah, we've done a whole stream on this.
So that connection, right? And then if you look into it, the Segota name is linked in Pennsylvania, and
of course
the number one thing for me is that pilot was a doctor at Penn State that crashed into the police helicopters. So there was on the news today, there was a helicopter crash with a plane, right? A police helicopter had got crashed into by a pilot who is a doctor at Penn State. I mean, we're talking days later.
Paul Sokolos,
yeah,
identified as the pilot killed in a plane crash with Pennsylvania State Police. Violent crash. What we know about deadly plane versus helicopter crash at Carlisle Regional Airport. The pilot of a small airplane was killed and 2 Pennsylvania state troopers were injured after the plane collided midair with a state police helicopter near the Carlisle Airport in Pennsylvania's Cumberland Valley on Wednesday evening. Wow.
And that pilot was a Penn State doctor. So you have back-to-back Penn State in the news.
Oh, my God.
Crashing with cops, right? Like
it's almost like the news cycle. Like, all right, hey, we talked about Pablo Escobar enough. Let's get something else in the news.
100%.
Well, that is certainly interesting, bro, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your night, and thank you for the call.
You too, brother.
Cheers. All righty. Next up, we got Mallory. Mallory's here. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. What do you got for us this evening?
Okay, so I try to not, hog my time, and then I start talking fast, and then
You're fine.
yeah. So, looking at my list. Okay, so we had talked about how I wanted to do a round table, and my idea was about like picking through the timeline and putting what the prosecution has versus what we actually think, and that might give us more than one what we actually think in that spot, you know.
Yep.
And so then I thought possibly a different way of doing it would be let's pick four of the most popular, or in the Hive at least, of the scenarios. So like frat, drugs, like that.
Oh, that's a
Pick
good question. As you're
right.
talking, I'm going to ask that. Hive, start typing out what you think would be one of the four most popular things, and I'll just put up some that start getting said, and maybe we can kind of have a little data point.
It could be five, or but
Yeah.
whatever we can condense it down to. And then I know, so Accomplished Day and Aaron for sure had said that they would want to do it. So whoever it is, they would be assigned that scenario, and we could either make a timeline that would match. If this is what happened, I think this would be the timeline, or we could just take that scenario and, like, I guess summarize what it would look like.
I think it'd be really cool to. I'm almost wondering, because those feel like very in depth in the roundtable, which is a fantastic idea. But I almost wonder if that would be like, we have a roundtable after each person gets to present or something,
right?
Or before.
It can get us started, and then it's going to carry on or something like that. But and so, I mean, we could still pick through the timeline, but it's hard to be collaborative with 1,000 people, or 1,200 people, whatever it is. But we could do either one. So and then I was also thinking about, not to say that anyone is complaining about this, but just the idea of like talking about the same things a lot. And
shit, I'll complain about that.
Right.
It's hard. It's so hard sometimes, where I'm like, I as much as I respect the conversations, that's just the reality of live streams. And that's why starting Monday, you're going to start to see my own mini series, because I need kind of a creative outlet, in a way.
Even for the sake of your channel's growth, I was thinking of like different ideas while we're waiting for like something cool to happen, which should be either comparing this case to the ones I think that would be the most interesting, like, well, OJ or Karen Reed. And reason being is because both of those cases have corruption or brothers in blue type stuff, or messing up the crime scene in the first few minutes type thing.
A debate would be fun too.
So doing something like that, or even looking at a different case completely, but because I heard before you in an old live, you guys talked about Thompson's case that made him famous, with the Rachel Anderson, and that honestly, like, they did the classic, her ex-husband did it. That case is shady too. It really, that's one to dive into.
Well, speaking of other cases too, one of the things that's always kind of cracked me up is when, and I'm just talking from my own personal experience as far as putting something online, I've said an OJ theory, I've said a Chris Watts theory, I've said a Brian Laundrie, Gabby Petito theory, I've talked about World War II and the motive of that. I've talked about a lot of other things, and it's like, whoa, wow, that's an interesting take. Like, never thought of it that way. The second I said, what if they have the wrong guy in the Idaho 4 case? It's like nothing I've ever seen before. And so to your point about just comparing and contrasting, there's no way that you don't learn more that would help you maybe have fresh eyes towards this case. But this is also one of those cases that is also different from a standpoint of, I go on vacation for a week. I feel like I was behind a year.
Right. Well, and see, okay, so what I would say is the biggest difference is technology and access to the fast moving information. Because, like, people forget, people think that JFK happened live on TV. It did not. It happened in front of a bunch of people, but
Right. It was the Zapruder film.
yeah, the Zapruder, and that film did not play until Geraldo played it in 1978. It was not publicly shown for 15 years. So it would have happened live if it had happened now, but it was live for those people. So anyway, not that this happened live, but maybe it did for somebody. I don't know.
Well, it's a rumor for sure. I get your
Right.
point, though. I do think that I do like the idea of having, like how I had Accomplished Day come up and give a full theory, because going bit by bit, it is hard to follow. It's obviously great for thinking out loud. We're never going to get away from that from the live streams. But having somebody on to really break down a theory uninterrupted, I think would be fun and great.
Well, no, and also too, like, for the comparing and contrasting, like, even just having theories about why these things are controversial. Why is this happening? What is, I think probably money, or, like, there's probably the main guesses, but I don't know. Because,
Well, go ahead.
something I've always felt like an asshole saying or thinking about this case is, if this had been 4 obese, ugly people, I just don't think it would have the same coverage. And it feels mean to say that, but
You're not the first to say that, though. I mean, there's a lot of things that have said if they weren't, X, Y, or Z, and if they didn't have, this, or that, honestly, I don't know, but it all still flows perfectly. Even if you didn't know what they look like in this manner, I feel like this case, even without their faces at this point, would be a wild case.
Yes, but and also people forget, though, or maybe they don't. I don't know that. Murder has happened several times just since we've been talking. Even with, like, school shootings, like, we don't even know all the ones that have. There's more than just Columbine and Parkland. Like, there's a lot of them, and it's the same with homicides. And drive-by shootings, or.
But
I don't know.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you by any means. I'm not. I'm totally in agreement that there could be a dynamic to that. And I will say, though, but the story that they gave with this being one person murders 4 people in the middle of the night that they don't know because they want to be a serial killer. They were a criminology student. The media almost made it into a story that they could run with, which maybe goes back to your initial point. But there's so much attention on it, either for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, and it got out of control fast either way.
Well, it's not like we can go back and do an experiment of, like, let's see what happens when ugly people.
Of course.
Like, but it is compelling to think of it like that. Like, or there are some cases that will, like, be talked about for a week and then it's gone, and that's obviously not the case here. And so anyhow, I just watched your old live with the very first time you were with the Custody Queens, and it's just funny to see how much has changed since then. But they had brought up how BK's sister was on the prosecution list, and you guys were, theorizing what that meant or what it would look like. And I wanted to be like, I know. I think that had to do with asking the sister about her brother stealing her phone and her having to make him look like an asshole.
Yeah, it was going to be a character assassination. That's what it was going to be.
To establish a pattern of criminal behavior.
And seriously, anybody on the jury that would look at that and be like, oh my God, he stole his sister's phone and his dad called the police because he wanted to maybe teach him a lesson of this is what you don't do, or this is why, or he's got a drug problem that's out of hand and they needed to intervene in a more dramatic way than just what. But it's also like,
terrible person.
but yeah, it's just meant to assassinate his character. And was that Cy Ray? Was that Cy Ray or somebody had said that was coming down the pike anyways?
Oh, I don't remember.
I think it was Cy Ray saying that on the Custody Queens.
Having any old person say that is one thing, but having to make his sister say it, I mean, they had a plan, I think. So, okay, back to what I was trying to say the other night. I said it 6 times. You clicked on the second thing I said, which was that they would have made better choices. It's because I think there's no way that the local cops knew anything ahead of time, because they made themselves look very stupid and very unpracticed and very, like, I just think that they would have, if they knew that this was all, a story, a plan, or whatever, they would have.
I don't think they would know, though. I don't think they would know.
Well, and so this happened on the Custody Queens thing too. About you had asked if they thought Ann Taylor would have known anything if he had been whatever a CI or and she said what I would have said, which was that minimal people, the most
need to
minimal
know.
people would have to know anything, and I mean, that's how things can get ruined or whatever, but then that's why they end up having to do things to fix that oops, and then stuff gets goes a direction they didn't originally want it to, but they had to do that to fix the oops. I don't know, but
I see your point that you're trying to make, because it does look so bad. If they were in on it, they could have even faked it a little bit better, but I also think that the
better acting skills.
Right, better acting skills. But the best way to do it is and that's where, when you look at going back to what Brian Koberger and the NIJ was funding at WSU, which was advancing the justice systems in rural police departments and the analytics and the data and their training. And you look at the funding that they've gotten over the handful of years leading up to this. I know that it's not in Pullman. It's 10 minutes away, whatever, in Moscow.
Right.
But the perp is from WSU. Right. And so in a way, is he the guy that's, I have no idea. You're going to see that in the first episode of my miniseries that comes out on Monday. I hope you guys enjoy that. I've put a ton of work into that. So that'll be out Monday.
The universities are on one hand one and the same, but they're also arch enemies too. But that's all like fun and games type thing. It's like, was it
rivalry.
Georgia and Alabama or whatever.
Rivals.
Yeah. Or the Vikings and anyway.
Don't mention that name.
Sorry. So speaking of, I think anyone who knows anything about me might think that I'm more biased as an Idahoan or whatever. But if they knew about me, they would know I have my own beef with the Idaho State Police. And even though I do feel protective of my state, I like to think that I have an open mind, but I'm also this is funny. I chose the Packers as my team when I was 10 years old because my best friend had a puffy Packers coat, one of those big puffy ones. That was why. But my dad is a lifelong Vikings fan, and so
Jesus.
It's I did it not to spite him, but also that's what it ended up being for fun, a fun thing. But that's how I am in my family.
It's not a phase, Dad. It's not a phase. I'm a Packers fan.
When we watched the Bulls, everyone in my family had Jordan jerseys. I had Rodman because I couldn't, that's who so anyway, point being, I'm not Idaho's, voice, but with the Lana had exposed that, well, they were doing the undercover thing and they were doing the reporting of their hours wrong and whatever. And that night, which was a game night, there was only 3 officers on shift, which is bananas. Apparently, there's usually 4 and 5 for game nights. That I don't know how that's possible, because if someone's getting arrested, let's say, you need a supervisor for sure to come say yes, arrest them. At least 2 cops to manhandle the person. That's at least 3 right there. So who is out making sure the rest of the town is okay? Is that for real?
I have no idea. That was a crazy find, and it still doesn't sound like the truth, which is even crazier.
5 is not enough for I've been to those games, and just think of any college game you've gone to. Think of the traffic, the parking, the pedestrians, and the beer. Just it's bananas. But then something no one has ever mentioned before is that there are county cops too. So Lake County also patrols, but no one's ever mentioned them. And then I see Idaho State Police patrolling around here every once in a while. So, there's also that. But I don't know if Lake County, what their rule is, because they can do back roads and stuff that city cops can't do. But
I've never seen that either. And you bring up a good point with the undercover, and I'm curious. Again, I never want to just assume. I never want to assume everybody's going to watch the miniseries, but watch the miniseries, at least part 1 that comes out on Monday, because I think it's going to blow people's minds on a whole new angle about this case that has to do with Brian Koberger. By the time you get done watching episode 1, I think I've done a decent enough job, I hope, showing that Brian Koberger is a story that is totally separate than the story of the crime. And I'm talking, I lay out exactly how they constructed it. And you bringing up the Banfield stop, Mallory, will come into play in that series. And so
that's some of the very first stuff. It's interesting how some of that stuff is coming back around. I saw the tunnels coming up again. Just things, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that was something we were supposed to stay with.
You never know. But as always, Mallory, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. Go Pack. And
yes. And my new screen name is for you, by the way.
Wait, it says Mallory's here.
No, I'm on the feed. You'll see.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
You too.
Peace. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, next up we have Amy Lynn. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Bertie. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. What do you got for us this evening, Amy?
Oh, I'm just frustrated with the Steve G bullshit.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
You're fine. Say whatever you want. What about it got you fired up?
Everything, Bertie. I think this man is so involved that it's not funny. His last interviews was just ridiculous. He's starting to threaten content creators, supposedly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's getting sick. The man needs to be investigated. I am sorry. I don't care. He can come to Pennsylvania. I'll give him my address if he wants to argue. But he is worse than a pedophile. He's a predator. He's a snake. And people need to start looking into this man. They honestly do.
Let me ask you this. If he has something to hide, there's got to be a million better ways to go about it than what has been shown in the media. And what seems to be his choice, to put it bluntly, right? To say it frankly, it seems as if he's very I'm going to say what I want no matter what. And even if it's not true, he's come out and admitted that. So what is your take on that? If he's got something to hide, it's certainly not like he's trying to keep a low profile. Do you think that's a tactic in his mind he's convinced himself is going to work, or what?
Well, you know the old saying, the one who protests the loudest is the guiltiest.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
You know? And I mean, he's, his last interview, he's like, I'm not the one being investigated. He's being investigated. Well, why would Turi be investigated? 1. 2, how do you know you're not being investigated?
It's a good question.
In the beginning, they kept things hush-hush from him. They're still keeping things hush-hush from him. And again, I honestly believe Ray is playing devil's advocate to get this man to talk. I honestly do.
That's such an interesting take, and I like that take. Because when I watch Ray, and I've said this once, I think, on stream, I smell BS. The tone, the inflection in his voice, it feels as if it's a trap, maybe is the right word, that's being set, or there's things that are being said. Now he's conversing about, I think, real things to the extent of the type of data, but what those results are, I'm not sure if that's really just putting it out there and trying to extract information, or you say trying to get him to talk. What would the benefit be of Ray doing that, for the investigators or for the case specifically?
I would say for the investigators.
Okay.
To be honest, I'm still convinced that there is another investigation going on, and I'm convinced of that because of the document that I got from the Pennsylvania State Police. This case was over. So why are you still saying that there's a covert law enforcement investigation if the case was over? That doesn't make sense.
Has this case ever felt over to you? I'm serious. Even when Brian took the plea, did it feel over?
No.
Same here. Not one time have I felt like when people have said, move on, it's over, he pled. I'm not saying that from a standpoint of, oh, their comments affect it and maybe I should move on because it probably really is over. I'm saying even if you took anybody saying that to me out of it, I internally and in my gut felt like it's not over, A, and B, it's not even close.
No, I agree with that. And the other thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, okay, I don't know how to say that park so I'm just going to call it Wawa.
I can't say it either. Wawa? I don't know.
But the park that Brian was supposedly, running in and okay, now think about it. He is from pretty much the Appalachian Mountains. Okay? When you're from an area like that, because I'm from the Allegheny Mountains. So when you're from an area like that and you move to a place that has a lot of people, you get stressed out. You go somewhere that is familiar. You go somewhere that is familiar, that is going to be grounded, that is going to ground you, that is going to bring you back. Okay? So if Brian seriously wanted to commit murders, don't you think he would have either taken someone to the park and done away with them there instead of choosing a house that's surrounded by other houses that has 20 cars in the freaking driveway? I'm exaggerating.
Right.
College students walking and partying everywhere. You don't know who's in that house. the house is all lit up. So anybody that is looking and can see what's going on. So if he really wanted to do this, don't you think he would have done it in the park?
Well, to your point, anywhere that would have been way more secluded. We don't know why he chose that house. And it seems as if they don't know to this day. He's driving around. I mean, who's to say that Brian didn't get out of his car at that point with how much he was circling around and trying to make 3-point turns in parallel park that he wouldn't have walked into 1118 or 1112, right? So from the most basic level, I absolutely see your point. I want to ask you one thing about Steve G, just to go back to that. Okay. And I want you to be honest with me. And if you are way on the other side of the spectrum for this, that's fine. But this also applies to the chat. Is there any piece of you that could see the way Steve G's behavior playing out the way that it is not necessarily because he's hiding something, but he's in on it? I've said for a long time, Steve G, the giveaway to me that says I don't know what, and this is all just alleged, but the Moscow Police Department, where he literally calls that they're going to use IgG, and it might not be him, it might be a family member, come swab everybody. And there's certain things that have been said in the beginning that made me feel very Fed type behavior. Any inkling of that, or do you think it's strictly guilt?
I think it's strictly guilt, and
Okay.
I think he's not intelligent enough to be a Fed, to be honest.
I was just curious where you'd be at that. Yeah.
The way he speaks, the way he mispronounces words, the way he's always saying moron or dipshit or, I mean.
Yeah.
And then that Christian hat, I want to knock that off his head.
The cross hat.
I want to knock that off his head so bad.
When it's all said and done, let's say you have a crystal ball, Amy. You have a crystal ball and you can look in it and let's say 90 days from now, give me the 90 day from now, 1 year from now, as far as that family and the media and their involvement. Where do you see this going with either the WSU lawsuit or some of the predictions that you said earlier in your call?
I think the lawsuit will be dismissed once Brian is free.
Okay.
And I'm praying if Steve is doing dirt, that the truth will finally come out of his involvement. And he'll be sitting where Brian is, hopefully facing a firing squad.
Holy shit. Well, you certainly did not hold back tonight, and I always appreciate your calls, Amy. Did you see how I had used your closing rant for one of the intros, or no?
Yeah, I have. And that was very, very nice, Bertie.
Cool. Well, I'm glad I thought you were about to say I have, and never use that again and edit it. No, it was awesome. And Amy, I think you're always bringing up some fantastic points, and I appreciate the call.
Well, this is my closing.
Let's hear
I'm
it.
not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a realist.
I love it. The conspiracy realist. You can wrap me in tinfoil. Call me whatever name you want. But really, what do they say? We're just a couple months early, a couple weeks early, a couple years early. It seems that everybody eventually comes around to the people that were ousted in the beginning for having a different thought other than what the mainstream media planted in their heads. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you have an awesome night, Amy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bertie. Have a great night.
Cheers. All righty. Yes, the truth tellers, conspiracy realists. Now, next up, we got Potato Cakes. How are you doing, Potato Cakes?
Hello.
We got you loud and clear.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the first time I've been on, like, talking to you.
First time caller?
Well, yes, first time caller. Oh,
Love it.
okay,
I
thank
love
you.
it.
Okay, so well, first of all, Packers. I am you guys were talking about the Packers earlier, right?
Yep.
I teach high school in Oklahoma, and one of my former students, whom I love to pieces, is actually a player for the Packers now, Colin Oliver. So shout out to Colin Oliver.
Wow, that's awesome. And
Yes.
in high school, did you know he was a stud?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
he played football for us, but his junior year, he had broken his leg, and so he was out for half the season or more. And then he graduated earlier to go to the NFL. And so I'm a lifelong Steelers fan, and I always told him, oh my gosh, if you go to the NFL, please, try and go for the Steelers. But anyway, he's Packer, so whatever.
Well, that's awesome. And I feel like the Packers, not to totally sidetrack this, I played football with people, one guy who was not drafted by the Packers, signed to the Packers, but then two other people, one drafted by the Broncos and one by the Buccaneers. And from what I've heard, the Packers is a phenomenal organization. If you're a player for them.
Well, I'm not too happy that the Steelers' freaking quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. Gross. So anyway.
Oh, Jesus. I can't hear that.
I know.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, let's move on, shall we?
Okay, yes. Moving
what do you
on.
got for us?
Okay, so I have a couple of things. Well, first of all, I had messaged you, I don't know if it was on TikTok or whatever, and I'm the person that was asking you why Jules hates you.
Oh, yeah. Wow, we are just on a roll with this call. You hate Aaron Rodgers, then you bring that up. No, okay.
But anyway, moving on beyond that. I mean, she's sweet, whatever. But anyway, I don't like drama. But
there's no drama here. And also, just real quick, you said the TikTok thing. To anybody that does message me on TikTok, TikTok might be the worst platform to try to get a hold of me on. It's so bad.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Well,
no worries.
I also had mentioned that I think it would be really cool if we did like a convention where all the like you and all the other true crime people like all together. I just think that would be really fun for everybody to go. It could be a money maker. You could sell merch and all that stuff. But
what do they call that? A meet and greet. That'd be fun, but it'd be fun to do it where we actually had experts or lawyers or people come in.
Panels, panels of different YouTubers or whatever. I think that would be really neat. But okay, so a couple. Yes. Well, I don't know about that. Okay, so a couple of things I was going to ask you. The first one is school just started back for me, so I've been really busy. So I'm kind of like hit or miss with the lives. But I was wondering if you have talked about or hit on the hotel manager interview.
So I've not hit on it on stream. I've listened to it, and it's pretty wild.
It's crazy.
Yes. What stuck out to it for you, or what stuck out in it for you?
That just the fact that they even like released that, like it's so insane that I just like my mind is blown that this lady. I mean, I don't know, just the things she said. I don't know. I would love to see what the Hive's opinion is on that interview, or I think you should do a stream over that if you could, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one for sure. And I haven't done that. Sometimes whenever those new interviews drop, and I see right when I'm just scrolling YouTube for leisure, and I see people talking about it, it's not that I avoid it, but especially when it's brand new, usually I'll give it a couple of days.
Okay.
Also to give myself time to listen to it, but. One of the things that did stick out was, or to me, let me back up. One of the things that stuck out to me was that it was Brian had two names, Brian Michael or Michael Brian or something like that.
Was one his dad though?
But the way that it was phrased made it sound as if you could reverse his name. And that stuck out to me. I don't know if I heard it right. I don't know if that's anything, if other people think that, but that was one thing. But in general, yeah, it definitely was an interview where people were like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. And just the fact that like there were so many like backpedaling moments in her interview. And then she was like, So I went to his room to see, before he was even supposed to check out, she was at his door in his room, like trying to like see what he was doing to check out. And nothing made sense in that whole, anyway. Okay. So I would love to see a stream over that. And then I was also going to ask about what happened to Pissy Pajamas. Like, is she gone from the Hive or?
I haven't seen Pissy Pajamas in a while. I know that she had done the audio, and outside of that, I don't know if she changed her username or what as far as in the chat, but I've not seen her now.
Okay. Well, you guys had done a stream the other day and I was in it, and they were talking about like the diluted blood, like the blood in the hallway and all that stuff, the staircase and stuff. And I had mentioned in there about, I was thinking that maybe like if they bathed Murphy, that like when he was shaking off, and somebody was like, well, no, that would be way too much if he was shaking off. But I don't know. I just still think that kind of makes sense to me. Like if they bathed him and he was covered in blood, then that might be where diluted blood came from. If it had soap, like whatever from the bathwater and the soap and stuff. So I don't know. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, it for sure makes sense if the dog shook off, right? It's how does it apply given what that we've been told doesn't happen, right? We've had people like Chris Wickham come out and say, no, absolutely not. I know that there's also people that have said, is it a mop that's dropping into a bucket that's causing, bloody water to fly up onto the wall? But from a theoretical thought process standpoint, a dog shaking off stuff, that makes sense. It's just when or how do we ever know if that's going to happen? There's also very strange things around where Murphy was at, right? So unredacted body cam apparently shows him on the bed, but then there's people that have said he was at the pound and he was brought back, and then you see him randomly walking down the road. I mean, there's always been stuff about Murphy. I feel like Murphy, if we need to trade Murphy to talk with those buttons that he can press.
Well, yeah. I brought up Pissy Pajamas because I've listened to some of the audio she's cleaned up or whatever, and it sounds like in a lot of her audio that she's shown, well, first of all, it sounds like they're talking to Murphy in one, like somebody is like calling for Murphy and he's whimpering, like he's there when someone's being hurt to me. And then also like bathwater running. Like it sounds like in some of Pissy's videos, it sounds like they're running bathwater, whether to waterboard people, like they've said, or to bathe him or whatever. So I don't know. I just like that connection just kind of like has stuck in my mind a little bit.
Well, and so to finish up here, what do you think? Like, if you had to pick a theory, what is your theory personally?
I really, I just, in my mind, I can imagine like all of the kids, I just feel like it's the kids for some reason. Like
frats,
I just think
the frats.
Yes. And Dylan or whatever, like hypothetically, obviously, allegedly. But I just feel like it's the kids had something like, I don't know. It's just such a, like for Brian Koberger to do it when it's such a passionate killing is just out there. He has no connection to them. But all of these kids do have connections to them. And so I feel like just the way, like I can just see them taking turns, with all the stab wounds and everything, like taking turns, like everybody.
It's so dark to think about that.
I know it is. It's awful. But that's just in my mind. Like, that's just what I picture. So I don't know.
Well, I'm appreciative that you called in, and I appreciate that it was a first-time caller. If you are a first-time caller tonight also, please let me know. It's one of my favorite things to hear. But Potato Cakes, I love the username, and I hope you have a fantastic evening.
Okay, thank you, too. Bye, Hive.
Cheers. Great calls. I want to make sure that I don't miss these. I saw Texas Gigi said, I like y'all the way you are. Don't change too much. Thank you so much for being a member of Hive Plus for 2 months. Thank you to Mary Marilyn and Dog Mom, Nora the Explorer, Fatal Redaction, $90 Bear, Queenie Conspiracy Gal 1206 said, anyone else feel the ick with the announcement yesterday of the Idaho State Police breaking ground on a new $29 million forensics laboratory? What I find so strange about that news, and also people who are getting award coins and recognized is how. And that's where I think the emotional thought process of us publicly seeing stuff going terrible in terms of it looks like a cover up. What is the mechanism on the back end where these people could all get promoted? I'm not saying that it's going over my head that they are promoting them for doing something that's illegal, but I'm also saying we can't count out the fact that there was a task that's been given to them that allows it to look this way. Right? So those are the two buckets in my mind. I feel as if a lot of sketchy stuff where you just said the ick. Yeah, publicly it feels like, how does that even happen? But you could also argue in terms of the ick, clearly they needed it with how bad it went with this. I'm not sure if that makes sense. I hope it does make sense, but thank you so much for the super chat. And Okie dokie Lisa said, I would like to be friends with my Okie. Who's the caller? I'm 580. Oh, we had a caller from Oklahoma that just called in. That was Potato Cakes. Was it Potato Cakes or Potato Shower? There's a lot of potatoes in here, it seems like. But yes, always cool to see people linking up in the Hive. Next up, we got... So backstage, I got Jeep Girl, Duck on Quack, Natalie, Accomplished Day, Boomer and Sammy, 4 a.m. Could have been, and Tabitha. So next up, we got Jeep Girl. Jeep Girl, how are you doing? All right. Next up, I'm going to bring up Accomplished Day quickly. Accomplished Day is coming up next. Here we go. You are on mute, Accomplished Day.
Hello.
No, you are not. We got you loud and clear. What up? What up?
How are you?
I'm doing great. People are building this up, and so ton of pressure on you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I am curious though what you got.
I know. Okay, so I've been requesting like a bunch of like public records requests, like FOIAs and everything. And the other day, we keep getting them denied, and they're telling us that these records don't exist. And I finally called up there, and I was like, Amber, they took this guy's DNA. It says that there's an evidence number. You have the interview. Like, I don't understand what's going on, So that's when I found out that when people submit these requests, she's just typing in like their initials or like the report number. And if she can't find it, she's saying the records don't exist and then just moving on, and she's closing it out. So I kind of went around and around with her for a little bit, but I was always nice, and I get off the phone with her and I'm like, why can she not find these interviews? So in the Discord, I just dropped the request that I sent to MPD because I found that they have a completely different server that houses 59.18 terabytes of data that they're not even searching for when people send the public records request to MPD.
Say that again. So they're not even doing what when people send the requests?
So they have a system called Spillman,
Yep.
and they have a system called Synology. The Spillman system houses all of the labeled and identified files. The Synology system houses all the files that they never labeled, that they came from multiple different agencies, and there's 59.18 terabytes in it, and it's never searched. When somebody says, I want this person's interview, or I want this surveillance camera video, so Amber goes into the Spillman system, she searches. If it doesn't come up in there, she doesn't even try to search in Synology because she doesn't have access to it, because Timothy Smaldridge has access to it only. So she's not even searching the 59.18 terabytes of data when people are sending public record requests in.
And she's acting like she didn't know. And that you like great job on that, by the way, for going round and round with her. But what was her reasoning? So she's clearly telling you, this is what I do, this is my process. And then does she physically say that to you? And if so, what's your response to her at that point? Because that sounds insane.
Well, okay, so yeah, at that point, I didn't know about Synology. It wasn't until I opened up the affidavits that Timothy Smaldridge and Anthony Dollinger filed in the EWU lawsuit. And that's what I dropped in Discord because it's just like a PDF and it has like the stuff highlighted if you want to open it, because it is insane. And so I sent a public record request to MPD and I asked for the full file directory of the Synology program, like that server, so that we can see the file names, the folders, everything in there, because they're not even searching for it for us to look.
Did you post it in the
Minds?
Hive Mind Finds? All right.
Hive Minds. It's just like a PDF.
Oh, in the Hive Minds or the Hive Mind Finds?
If a Hive Mind Finds, sorry.
Okay. All right. Here it is.
So that's just like the request I've sent. But if you want to scroll down to the affidavit first, and then you can go like through that part. But like go to page, like, I think it's, yeah, you'll see the highlights in just a second. Just keep scrolling.
So
right
it says the Moscow Police Department currently has copies of all digital evidence stored on a secure Synology drive. I utilize the Windows Properties tool to identify the number of the files stored on the drive, which includes the following. Items booked in evidence. There are 257,574 files that comprises 7.39 terabytes. They're photos, videos, audio interviews, digital copies of letters, emails, and documents. Holy shit. Dude.
Keep going. It gets better. It gets much, not better, worse, but you know.
Items from forensic detectives. There's 2,046,563 files that comprise 50.8 terabytes. These are surveillance video, phone data downloads, search warrant returns, interviews, photos, and electronic records. The digital evidence stored on the Synology drive does not include the records associated with 22M09903 that are maintained by the Moscow Police Department records. You got to be kidding me. The evidence gathered.
And that's Amber. Amber has the records that aren't in the Synology drive, which are the labeled ones that they identified, just so that everybody understands. She only can access the Spillman server that the labeled files are in, which is associated with 22-M whatever. But go ahead. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure everybody
No, you're
that.
Fine. It says the evidence gathered in the 22M09903 is so voluminous that it is challenging to search for specific records without receiving significant detail to assist me in locating a specific record. One of the challenges of the evidence collected in this case is that it sometimes came in the form of a thumb drive with no description of what sort of data was on it. How convenient. It could have been as general as interviews, ring camera footage from neighborhoods, surveillance video, footage from businesses, photos, etc. As time permitted, I would try to review and relabel the files, but to date, not all the digital evidence collected is named in the not all of the digital evidence collected is named in great detail to allow me to quickly locate specific named files. Often, the description of the contents of electronic data was vague or incomplete, such as multiple interviews or audio-video files themselves are not named in such a way as to give an idea of what it might be. This has added a layer of complication to searching for specific items.
Do you know how many interviews they've denied because they say that they don't exist? But then he sat there in that affidavit and said files are named multiple interviews.
How many?
And then Dollinger's affidavit in there, even more further, explains it about like what they're doing when they get our request, that they're not looking in that system. So I've sent a like really long, they probably hate me. I was supposed to receive a bunch of files from Amber on Thursday, and she won't return my calls or messages or anything because she's probably super mad at me because I routed my request to Timothy Smaldridge and Anthony Dollinger and asked them to give me the full file directory. And then I sent it all to Dr. Turvey.
I saw your email that you posted about that, but I was reading that and I didn't know that you had posted this in the Discord. I hadn't had time today to go through that, but Jesus. So I'm speechless. Honestly, I don't know what to say. So you're telling me that's a treasure trove right there. And which makes me think, how did they determine what went to, as who you're calling Amber, and what went to Synology?
I don't know who made that call. I just know that Timothy Smaldridge's affidavit puts it in two different collections inside of Synology. Like one is the forensic stuff, and the other, and that's like 50.8 terabytes of data. And then the other was that 7.39. And he says that stuff is not part of the system that the Moscow department person has, which is Amber's role inside the police department. Did that make sense?
It does, but it's just also mind-blowing that, and I mean no offense by this, it just is mind-blowing that it took somebody this long to figure that out. I mean, it's crazy. Great work. And so you get that directory, that's going to lay out all of the labels, if I'm understanding you correctly, that they did get to do that might be specific enough. We should ideally be able to see the evidence that just has multiple interviews, and we should also be able to see the evidence that says a specific camera, interview, etc., right?
Yeah, my thought is that you get the file name extension like path, like the .mp3, the .pdf, and then you start saying, I want every single MP3 file that's an interview in there. And if you don't know if it's an interview, you need to listen to the MP3 file and send it to me once you do it. And then you can do your redactions. But to know what they have, you have to know what's in there. Like, even if it's named multiple interviews, or even if it's named 7, 8, 9, 10, I mean, like,
well, yeah, holy hell. People need to go and clip that. When I was reading that, clip that, and because people need to learn how to do it, and my mind's already racing with what I can do with some of my mods and Sleuth or Dare with that stuff. And if we can help, I mean, I don't know if you've posted something as far as on YouTube or in the Discord, laying out how people can do it. You know what I mean? If they have free time and maybe they've never submitted anything, but yeah, that would be massive. And there's gotta be the truth in that.
Yes, just so you know, there was a bunch that me and Connor had gotten denied, and we knew that the interviews existed. So I took all those and I resubmitted them, and I directed it to Timothy and to Anthony Dollinger. And I said, please look these up in the Synology drive.
Guys, you know what that means. Exist. Well, and you know what that means, right? That means that in the past, when people have been told, and we've been like, what are they talking about? Where they say that Brian Koberger's interview, we see it in the report that it is recorded. And they say they've lost it. They don't know where it is, or whatever the excuse is. I mean, Brian Koberger's interview is probably in the Synology drive.
Oh yeah, everything is. Even the only thing that you wouldn't be able to touch out of there probably are the FBI interviews, because they did get that letter from them in May that said they wanted all their files back, and supposedly they sent them back, But these counts that they put into those two different collections, FBI letter came in May of 2026. The affidavits that were filed by Dollinger and Smaldridge, they weren't filed until 7/10. So they had already removed all those, and they still had that many files in there.
We need to get Amber on the show. Let's get Amber on the show, and let's ask her some questions. Amber, you're telling me that no alarm bells are going off when you're just searching initials? I mean, seriously. So that's either some sort of blissful ignorance where, and I get it. I get that people will show up to their jobs and just do their jobs and not go above and beyond, or I just don't see how she doesn't know that. I don't see how that's a possibility that, a case exists. Public names are out there. We've seen them in the documents. We're reading that these things have interviews or they're recorded. And I don't know if she just hasn't been close to it, but wouldn't you think if you're receiving requests for this stuff, you'd start to maybe get a little bit of a curious eye and think to yourself, Why is it that these people are saying they want this interview from this document and I'm not finding it? You know what I mean?
So in her defense, like this is, she was telling me this is in, I know this probably isn't the right way, but when I get all these requests in, I'm not reading the document. So she's not even looking into what it was about. So she doesn't say like, oh, these officers did it, so it must be ISP. She's just looking at the initials and the number. And then she's looking it up, can't find it. Oh, that one's closed. Like that's how it's her. That's what's happening.
Well, that's a fantastic call, Accomplished Day. I'm glad that you had time and that I got you up here to share that. And stay tuned, everybody. Yeah, because that's massive. And Goated Award, like I said, I've been looking for something to hang it back up on the side of that wall. I got to get like a goat plaque or something, maybe, and start putting people's names up there. That'd be fun. But as always, great to chat with you, and I hope you have an awesome weekend.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Peace. All righty, I'm going to bring Jeep Girl on up next, and I apologize to Jeep Girl for having a little bit quick of a trigger finger, but Jeep Girl, sorry about that. Thanks for popping back on.
Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear.
Okay. I was like, man, I could have been taking a sip of my drink and spit it out. Wait.
That's on me. That's on me. My bad.
That's okay. That's all right. God, there was like so much even hearing other callers come in. Amber was just fantastic. I mean, it made me like my jaw drop. And it just makes me really want to say to everybody that, not that we don't already know, doesn't this solidify things like this even more so, for real? Mm-hmm. This case is so crazy that it's not Brian. I mean, it makes it more so that it's not Brian. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't go to this much trouble. They wouldn't go to this much trouble. I mean, what are they thinking when they're seeing what we're reading, or they're not knowing?
See, and that's why, again,
I know, these are speechless.
I'm not trying to, trust me, I'm doing my best, and I obviously I don't think I'll ever become biased to the point where I won't be able to converse about certain things. But I think a little bit contrarily to what you just said, as far as why go through all the trouble, I think they did go through all this trouble to get Brian in the position he's in, you know?
Yes, I agree with that. But I'm saying that's what should prove it even more so.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, because other cases, they might go to a lot of trouble trying to find the person who did it and so forth. But this, I mean, if somebody broke into your house, right, and it's a stranger, you're and you hear them or whatever, okay? Because, like, I'm sorry, I don't believe anything Dylan says. I don't give a shit. Seen a black mask. I don't care who she says she's seen. We're not believing her. I'm not. And so we got Hunter with three different stories out of his own mouth. And I had to remind, I was on Lana's channel, that, what are you laughing at? Black man, because I said a black man or a black man. Don't get me giddy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, get fired up. Get fired up.
It's effed up, man. Like, because you got Hunter, I mean, they're all they're all sticking their damn feet in their fucking mouth. Don't they all see that? You got Hunter saying he came down and he put the code in, okay? And then on his interview on the Amazon Prime, he's literally sitting there saying, as he's walking down the road, he sees them exiting the house. Well, which one is it, asshole? You had to put the code in. I mean, the truth is the truth. You know what I'm saying? The truth is going to be the truth 5 days from now, a week from now. They're all saying different fucking things. Sorry my language.
Yeah, crash out.
You know I get so hyped out, man, with this shit. Mm-hmm. And number two, there's tons of photos when I slow down all these videos of the cops that entered that crime scene sliding their damn hands up their rails and around the landing. They're transferring whatever blood from Maddie Katie, whoever else is in that house. God knows. Whoever else's blood. Now you've got Murphy walk around. I mean, he could have stepped on a piece of glass and he's got blood in that house. Okay? Nobody even knows who the hell picked that dog up from the pound. He suddenly just disappeared from the pound and his paperwork. if this case wasn't so horrific, it would be such a fucking comedy show. Honestly.
Well, yeah.
I mean, and what was it? These other callers are making me forget. Like, so the thing about the hunter, was like different stories. Okay. My other thing was the 911 call. We already know that was made up because out of their own mouths. So you got Hunter going up. First off, the door was open, not closed. We heard multiple stories about that. The door was open, and you got Hunter on the 911 call knocking on the door. Santa, Ethan, I mean, what are you doing, asshole? They rehearsed that shit. The door was open, and he says, get out. Call 911. Well, okay, and they did the same thing when they called 911. So you played the scene over before you called 911. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like a game, and not one cried. And it's probably Dylan's hair, because she was probably on Xana, and Ethan probably grabbed her from the back of the fucking head and ripped her hair out. And she had blood on her pillow. She got blood on her hands, honestly.
How does she get away with it? How does so? With that being said, right?
How are they all getting away with it?
That's $1 million question, right? So what do you think? Like, what is it?
Well, I do believe it's a frats, and I do believe a pop theory. I'm going a little bit of a higher up because of the fact you got Trump on X. I didn't even read his comment. I'm not even on Twitter, whatever the hell you call it. But I was about ready to contact his office, not that he'd hear me. But I'm so fired up with this shit. And, it's like, my God, these are all hiding shit. You know what I'm saying? And what positive things are all coming out of this for everybody? And then you just read that about the state cops, the 29 million. Wow, these are all getting rewarded. Damn, what happened? These are all being rewarded for your shit. Well, we got shit flowing through that town.
Well, yeah, and look, I had said this to Amy, and I had said the whole Steve G thing with that Moscow interview. One of the things that people forget about that interview. Well, just hear me out for a second. One of the other things that he says in that interview, though, is it's time to put Idaho on the map. Okay, now this is for the people that are going to look through the lens of this could be bigger, right? And so you had brought up President Trump. I had shown in the DEA Seattle, it was the local Seattle news channel. They talked about Operation Last Mile, and Operation Last Mile was a part of the Take America Back or whatever that slogan was. And it was the biggest operation in that campaign. And so when I saw that, I was re-listening to this interview and I thought to myself, okay, so now it's weird too that Operation Last Mile that targeted the Pacific Northwest was a part of that at the presidential level. And then Trump is tweeting or making whatever the post is on Truth Social about Brian Koberger. I thought to myself, right, but I'm just saying, like, I don't care what anybody's opinion is on him. I'm talking about just what we could look at. It seems a little bit strange that he made a comment about it, and people can have their opinions as to why.
Wanting the judge to make Brian allocute. Like, why are you involving yourself? And then one of your callers at one time said that she thought, she was really good. I don't remember her name, but said that this and the Epstein.
Oh, that was
Epstein, right?
Oh, shoot. I apologize. She's from Australia, though. Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't Shelley. It was somebody else, I believe, I think, right?
Yeah.
But she was like really.
Jess, maybe?
I don't know.
Sorry.
But she did like a whole loop around where, of whatever. But I actually even emailed Chris Cuomo. I went off on him. I just said, you mainstream. I know. I was polite and respectful. I get fired up now because I'm on the phone with you, but because I can't voice it to anybody else. But I mean, it's just so obvious. It's so obvious, And then you got what's his name? That one cop, Gunnarsson. He goes up there. Remember, you were wanting to know what he took off that table?
Yeah.
Didn't you say in that one video? He's up there with no gloves. They clearly see him in the video walking up with no gloves, and he's over that table. And he took something. He took something to walk down the stairs. We don't know what. And real quick, because I don't want to mention other platforms' names. I don't know if you're like that. I don't if you care.
don't
I don't.
care.
It's a new platform. Lana apparently went off on them. I don't know anything about them. On a post she did, so I'm not spreading gossip. Um, and I just happened to come across them by accident, but I'd never heard of them. Karma Distribution or something like that. Karmic Distribution.
Oh, Karma Retribution. She's in here a lot.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know who they are enough, but I came across their one video. It's like an hour and a half, and I was like, holy shit. It was more in depth than any other video that I've seen with everything. The song, the lyrics were like, holy hell. If you
Karmic's
slow that
music,
shit down and
I
listen
think that
to
they
the lyrics.
make their own music. Karmic has been in here many times in the past and will say what's up. I don't know if they're in here right now, but
Okay,
yeah,
cool. Because I don't know who they are, but like and I don't go by I don't run with people or whatever. I just go by what I see and who.
You don't run with the Hive, Jeep Girl?
Yeah. I was in your cage for a long damn time. The other night and this tonight.
I was in the cage.
I came out of the Hive, man. Birdie put me in the bird cage. I was back there tweeting.
Oh my God. You get the GOAT Award, Jeep Girl. I hope you have a fantastic night.
Give it right back to you, too. And you have a good night, too, all you guys. I love you.
All right. Cheers.
All right. Cheers, baby. Bye.
Oh, man. Wow. For better or worse, and just no matter who calls in, what they say, if they agree, they disagree, there are moments like that that really just open my eyes again, and it happens regularly, how incredible and just great and fun and close this community is. Let's get some GOAT emojis in there for Jeep Girl for letting it fly, or throw some goddamn it Jeffs in there as well, because Jeff had to make his comment about never forget the foundation in the bathtub. And I said, what's up to Jeff? That's for you, buddy. And Jeep Girl, one last time, appreciate the passion for that. Now, we got a Duck on Quack, Natalie, Boomer and Sammy, the Jodine, Big Amish Media, Mysterious Stranger, and Tabitha backstage. Love seeing all those emojis. Thank you, Hive. And now we got Duck on Quack. How are you doing?
Doing good. Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear. What do you got for us this evening?
Somebody wants to say hi.
Hey, what's going on, little man? How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. I love it. You hanging out with Mom, watching the Hive?
Yeah.
All right. Here's the GOAT Award for you. You're probably the youngest person ever to get the GOAT Award.
Yay.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you. He was
Yeah,
so
of course.
excited about seeing you.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I was gonna say that I think that I'm the first time caller, obviously.
And your mom gets the GOAT Award. Look at that. That's quite a call-in. I love it.
But I'm thinking that there was some kind of fight in the living room. And the reason why I'm thinking that is because whenever I think it was Connor that wasn't able to go into the corner club, he was actually banned from it. And the reason, Connor, right? The scary looking one.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Okay, because your face was just like, what? Okay.
No, I was at a comment, not you. Sorry.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So then, I think that there was somebody at the bar that kept like grabbing on the girls' butts or grabbing on their hair or taking people's drinks. He ended up getting kicked out, right?
Yeah, and I believe that it was the flannel, the black and white flannel, and then a lot of people have said that that's the person who's walking up onto the porch of 1112 that's kind of blurred out.
Yeah, the one that's wearing that like harness thing.
Yes.
Okay, well, for some reason I was thinking his name is Chad
Cole Barenberg. Cole
Barenberg. Okay, so I'm thinking that since he's friends with Connor, right? Maybe they were waiting for the girls to get out of the club,
and just passing time until they got back. I mean, now, do you think that that's in a nefarious way, or like they know them and they're just trying to kick it after the bars?
No, not trying to kick it. We're like trying to kick them.
Oh, geez,
I
yeah,
mean,
I get what you're saying.
and so that's what I'm thinking. A thing that I feel like ties Kohlberg to the case, I think, would be uh Malwich, because I know that I don't know if it was Pav.
Did you say
I
Koberger or Cole Berenberg to
No,
Mowich?
no. I'm sorry. I said Kohlberger.
Okay, just clarifying.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason I think Kohlberger is attached or is in this somehow, he's connected to Malwich.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because didn't he write to Malwich whenever Malwich was in prison?
Oh, refresh my memory, Hive. There was, I know that Brian had done the survey, and I think there was speculation around that. Now, I don't know if I heard that or not. If somebody had filled out that form, and
Well, remember, well, I was going to say, remember whenever they were sitting on the stairs, and at his apartment, and he said, I'm sorry, I have ADD brain
no,
too.
you're good. I'm following you.
Okay, cool. So they were sitting on the stairs, and remember that couple that passed, and they said that Kohlberg was trying to be like super super nice.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so that guy never left, but I'm thinking that guy was Malwich, and it hadn't happened yet. Like,
Yeah, I think so. There's Mowich and then there's Farley, because Farley had actually had contact with Brian Koberger, and it just so happened that Brian Koberger brought up the Yankees, and then if you remember the DMV footage that came out.
DMV, yeah.
But you're saying Mowich.
Yeah, I thought he wrote Malwich for some reason.
If you can find anything about that, please send it to me, because
yeah,
there's like something that my brain is trying to recall with that, but I don't. It's not coming back to me.
Sure, I'll definitely, if I come across it, I'll send it to you.
Please do. And you got anything else for us this evening?
I think that you do an awesome job.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I just love the show, and your setup is looking great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it's awesome that you had called in, first time caller. We got the little man up on the stream as well. And I hope both of you have a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, you made his night. That's for sure.
I love it. Well, he made mine. I hope you have a great night.
You too. Good night.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Oh, man. That's cool. So it's wholesome. It's cool. It's fun. It's whatever other words you want to tie to it. Thank you to Duck on Quack for that. And shout out to all the little, I don't know if I should call them little people, the kids. It feels weird that kids might be watching this show if I got Sammy T Mafia on some nights, but earmuffs at that point. But no, that's awesome. And thank you for the call, Duck on Quack. Next up, we got Natalie. Natalie, how are you doing?
Good, Birdie. How are you?
We got you loud and clear. I'm doing fantastic. Good. What do you got for us this evening?
First of all, I want to say Jeep Girl is a hoot.
Oh my God, dude.
I was laughing so hard over here.
I couldn't help it. I think it was great. I mean, like, I started laughing because I think she said black man instead of black mask. And I'm just like, I don't know if she caught herself there, but then she just kept rolling. It was great.
That was fun. That was fun. And Amy's call in was great. I couldn't agree with her more. But I have a question for you, and actually the Hive. And forgive me if this has been asked before or said before. I want to bring it back to the beer pong table.
Okay.
And the majority of us, I think, in the Hive don't really trust the evidence that's been put in front of us for many reasons. But why are we so easy to believe that the beer pong table was used for beer pong?
Interesting. Okay. Meaning what?
I'm going back to your episode on the Penn State Sigma Chi, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that beer pong table was it looks like a setup in a scene of Friends or something, like just displayed easily. It looked too phony, the setup. What if they were cutting, distributing, dealing out of that home? And that's what the pong table, your pong table, now I'm using your words.
Yeah, the ping pong table. Yeah.
The ping pong table. What if that's what it was used for? And there's always some truth to a lie. So what if Bethany really did see Kaylee running around in that room and dancing with the dog in there? Kaylee bumps into the table, products everywhere, and back to two situations going on at once. There was already a plan to go over there and put somebody in their place or threaten someone. And me thinking back to that being Kaylee because Dylan tried so hard to get her back there. But now Kaylee or anyone bumps in the table, product spill. Now there's really a problem.
And if the water from the cup spilled on it.
If there were even cups on it.
Right. I get what I totally see your point. I'm saying in addition to that, or a drink spills on it too, or the dirty floor, it's wrecked. Obviously, it's effed. I mean,
and there would be a lot of frat people there. Let's say nobody's trusting anybody else to do the cutting. They're all there. They're all doing their job, or some are just hanging out, watching, kicking it, acting like they're partying with them. Let's say Ethan and Xana are there at that time, but they're in the bedroom. Ethan comes out because now somebody's going after Kaylee. Ethan and Xana come out to see what the hell's going on. People start running. Frat boys go back to their place to get their own weapons or call the big guy, hey, this is what's going on. What do you want us to do? And then another situation occurs.
Well, so first of all, go to Ward. I like how your brain thinks because that's, again, it's a take that we haven't heard, but it flows into the two separate events. I had a comment underneath one of my videos. I want to ask you about it. I didn't do the from the comments section, and this is not, I shouldn't even have to clarify that I'm not hating on anybody when I say this, but the comment was something along the lines of, Birdie, somebody doesn't show up to just talk about drugs in public. That's a private matter, bro, or something. And I have that screenshot because I was going to talk about it because I agree with that. And to an extent, my thought was, if it's not the big time drug dealer, what if there's somebody that is working for a big time drug dealer and lost a bunch of product and isn't going to pay them and knows that there's something that they have to get back or they have to find out, right? Like it's almost as if now it's a trickle down effect. Like you screwed me over, which now I'm going to be screwed over because if I don't get him something or them something, I'm in big trouble. And so if that's something that was building, or let's just say it is somebody that's known and there's murmurs, like we know people talk, you hear that's going on. Imagine you're having a party, it's late at night and there's a group of people there. You're close enough with them, obviously, that you're hanging out after the bars. But then let's say that a group of peripheral friends of a friend show up. And it's the same people that oh, shit. And they don't have to say anything. It's just got to be like, maybe I'm going to probably call it a night and get out of here. The fact that they showed up. Does that make sense? Like, they don't even need to say anything, per se, to get people to leave or to think, oh, wow, something might be about to go down. Does that make sense or no? Natalie? Uh-oh. Shoot. Well, Natalie, I lost you. Great call, though. Great take on that. And thank you so much for the call. Next up, we got Boomer and Sammy. How are you doing, Boomer and Sammy? Which one of you we got? Or do we got both of you?
We're both here. You can hear us, right?
Up? Loud and clear.
All right. Just want to say long time lurker, first time caller.
That's not your first time calling, bro. Oh, man. Great to hear. It's been a while, though. It's been a while.
It has been a minute. And I was just reading your new ticker at the bottom. So I do want to say that everything that I'm going to say is pure speculation, and it is my and Sammy's opinion that we came up with earlier, right before you went live.
Perfect. Thank you.
And we appreciate the disclaimer.
And I know that Sammy's sitting back there probably smiling ear to ear. Sammy, I appreciate the disclaimer as well.
Also, can I get the tinfoil hat song really quick, please?
Yes, sir. Here you are in 3, 2, and 1.
Please retrieve your nearest tinfoil hat. Place hat.
Hang on.
Please retrieve your nearest tinfoil hat. Place hat firmly on your head.
All right. Here we go. So literally like right before you went live, we were watching Accomplished Day, Connor. They were on Typically Unique with Diego and Bronx.
Okay.
And she was going over everything with the FOIA information and all of that, it blew our mind when we were watching it. Yeah, that's it, Accomplished Day. And so Connor had said something that I wish that Accomplished Day had kind of spoke on, but she didn't. He had been in contact with a girl that was at the Sigma Chi party. She has a video of Ethan arguing with someone in the background of the video. They interviewed her multiple times, all of that. She went to FOIA her own interview and they told her it did not exist.
I wonder if it's in that Synology or the whatever Accomplished Day Synology, this whatever that other one is.
It very well could be, but the point I'm getting to, and this is going to tie in a couple of things that you said months ago, but something you just said the other day and kind of bring it all full circle. Okay. You a while back, you did the story on Kohlberger and you were talking about how he was doing the internship with Pullman PD and the CSI lab. Is that right? Okay. So my theory is Kohlberger got the position. He was there. They already had the Quad City task force going on. He's just looking for anything that's out there. He's looking at the data that's coming in, whatever it is. He comes across some corrupt things that are going on in Moscow, right? He's on to Moscow. He's probably writing reports or doing everything and bringing it to his leadership's attention. Since Pullman and Moscow are literally like, they are kind of like the Twin Cities, like Minneapolis and St. Paul. Like, they're right next to each other. The population goes back and forth. Everybody knows everybody. They have a great rapport. So this is another case of two things happening at once. So the argument that Ethan was in could have triggered the killings, right? Since Kohlberger was digging into Moscow PD and their corruption, they pointed the finger at Kohlberger. Pullman went along with it just for the simple fact that they're bosom buddies. They get along great. They have long careers together. They've known each other for years. This dude's an outsider. Who the hell is he?
Okay. Following you.
We also believe that Moscow PD, as well as the University of Idaho, may have been slightly complicit in the drug activities on and around the campus. So the argument could have been over drugs. It could have escalated and turned into, let's go over there and check these guys, and went into something completely worse. And if you got a weirdo like Showalter in there that probably has a thing for Kaylee or Maddie, he could have went overboard with one of them. Right? Now, all of that is all fine, but they still don't have enough evidence to convict Brian Kohlberger. But they have enough to arrest him. Right? Because they can arrest you on circumstantial evidence. They just can't. It's hard to convict you on it unless there's just a mountain of it and it can't be disproven. Right? So what they do is they go to Ann Taylor and they're like, look, you're from here. Get him to take a plea deal. We need this guilty plea. We need this guilty plea now. She goes and pulls his parents in convinces them that death row is going to be the worst thing to ever happen to him. He's more likely to get killed on death row than he is in Gen Pop, and gets him to take a plea deal. Now, this all ties into kind of what you were talking about with the Penn State thing, right? Where they were letting Sigma Chi operate outside of their guidelines. So outside of any of their disciplinary, anything like that. So Sigma Chi is pretty much rogue on their campus. Even if Sigma Chi and all the other frats are quote unquote like being complicit with the rules of the University of Idaho, they still could be operating rogue and doing things that the university kind of frowns upon in the public light, but lets happen because it brings revenue in the private light.
Yep, I'm following you with that.
So I want to throw this out to the Hive and see, like, if, because these are this was a quick connect the dots that happened literally right before you went live. So it's still like a theory in the making.
Okay, that's fine.
So what do you think about that one?
Well, here's what I like about it. I really like that you went back to the Brian Koberger getting the job. Okay. That is going to be a big piece. I'll just call it now. I think that if we don't start to really accept that, or at least have that in your back pocket when you think through possibilities, I think that it's going to be tough to get to the truth, because as I've said the last couple of nights, there's what happened inside 1122 and the murders, and then there's the story of how did Brian become the guy. It makes no sense with no connection. And that's why I don't think the connection's social. The connection is the investigation. It was an investigative connection that they made, meaning, to your point, with him getting that apprenticeship or that partnership requires about 100 hours, according to their Cleary report, 2021 report, 2022 report. You guys all see this in the miniseries, that not only do they have ride-alongs and work-withs and mentors in the Pullman and Washington State University Police, they also do it with the Whitman and Latah County Sheriff's Department. I want you to think back to this, and I'm going to come full circle with your theory here, Boomer and Sammy. How odd is it that Brian Koberger is doing this in April? And we've always said, man, it's strange that besides the times, even if you take the times out that Brian Koberger was pulled over crossing the country with his father, which was in quick succession, right? It was very quick, back to back. How weird is it that he got pulled over so often when he was in town? And then you look at the body cam in August, and it was a sheriff. And everybody said, how weird is it what his answers are, saying, no, it's not worth ever lying. And so I wonder, did they reproduce body cam of one of those 100 plus hours of a mentorship where Brian Koberger is driving his own car and he gets pulled over for a seatbelt? He gets pulled over for the stupidest things every time. And it makes me wonder if there's body cam of him essentially doing these hours of experience, mentorship, guidance. And that's what they're using to show this white car. And that's how they knew that they had it going all the way back to that point. Now, that sounds like a stretch, but if you look at what they're asking Brian and you listen, it's all of these little tiny random things, seatbelt, parking in a crosswalk. And if you got that job, another big part of it is that you are embedded within these departments. So that's where it comes back to your point. After you get those 100 plus hours, you're working alongside of them.
So you're privy to things that the average person isn't. So you're seeing things that maybe you shouldn't necessarily see or hear.
Right. And all of that, you know, I saw somebody say preposterous. I don't know if they're caught up in the live. I don't know if they're saying it to me. I don't really care if they're saying it to me. Watch what I put out there. I mean, I'm showing their own documents. It's clear that they picked Brian Koberger because of a reason. And I think the reason, to your point, is to tie this in a bow. There must have been something going on that was similar to an extent at Penn State that was brushing up against something already ongoing that they had to contain. Brian Koberger isn't a patsy. Brian is a containment defendant.
Exactly. He's not a patsy. He was a scapegoat, literally a scapegoat.
Yes. And the other crazy part is, riddle me this. I've been on this for a while now, but I explained it crystal clearly again with visuals. You'll see that on Monday, but a little bit of a sneak peek into it. The PCA itself is so strange with Brian's phone number. The 8458, which is his number, turns into 8548, and it happens twice in the PCA. Both times that it happens where they switch Brian's number, by the way, that one digit switching from 8458 to 8548, 8548 to this day, if you look up the Washington State Police number, it's the WSU Police's number. It's their non-emergency line. Okay? That's crazy.
That's not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence. And you want to know when the both times are that they use it? It's when there's a physical real-world event that they correlate that phone number to being on a camera in the PCA. It happens twice. Once is the body cam where the Latah County Sheriff has him pulled over, and the other is Kate's Cup of Joe. So I don't find it a coincidence that they have to use the WSU police number the two times that Brian is allegedly on camera. And I show all of this, and that number, 8548, again, going back to their Cleary report, that existed before the number and exists, or before the murder, and it exists to this day. I want to know if what happened is if there was different reports that made its way into the PCA. And it's not a typo, but essentially it's a scar of something that was being constructed into it.
And,
I don't know.
And then they play it off as a typo, but it's real information.
Yes, exactly. It's just one number. Yeah, but
that's like I saw one of the comments. I can't remember who said it because I'm watching it on the TV and talking on my phone because I'm trying to multitask. And it was something to the effect of like, why would the college be in on drug dealing? Back in the late 70s, early 80s, there was the Iran-Contra situation in the government, and the CIA was actually bringing cocaine in from Nicaragua to the United States, giving it to local drug dealers at a discount, so that way they could send guns and everything for a war that was happening over in, or no, they were sending guns to the Contra over in Nicaragua, but they were selling drugs in the United States for it. Oliver North came out, testified in front of Congress, and laid it all out. So a government body being complicit or even helping with a drug deal or with drug dealings is not a far fetch.
It's not. And it makes a lot of the stuff, dude, like how you had said, or how we have said, cover up versus an operation. They're not synonymous, but you had said something where you talked about with the, I'm messing this up, but it was like probable cause, right? Where they had to build such a solid case around him. To have it be so flimsy and still get to the point where it is, where Ann Taylor's saying, take this plea deal. Well, you want to talk about an operational dynamic under the hood. It's the same day Jesse James Bailey gets sentenced that Brian accepts this plea. That's wild.
There's no coincidences. There's just not even happy accidents. Things are planned appropriately.
I mean, dude, we have a guy who applied for a partnership, and they also have to mention that in the PCA for whatever reason. We see the things happen with his phone number when they correlate the surveillance. Everything that you said as far as what could Brian have been doing that's near and around, seen something, not seen something, because I think that there must be something that had happened that they still, even within that whole department and everybody else that could have not been related, that they could have used as a containment person. That's a missing bridge still. And I don't know if you have any ideas on that. Why or what Brian could have seen. I know you laid it out in that theory, but do you think that there was anybody else they could have been considering? Or do you think that there was a little bit more that he had seen or he saw? Why him in that mix? Does that make sense? Because that's always confused me.
It does. And I'm going to go back to the drug angle on it. So Pullman and Moscow are both small. And if you have a drug dealer, a known drug dealer that's going around, say he gets pulled over in Pullman or has a case out of Pullman or something like that, right? Gets out on that case on bail, They know what he's doing. They're keeping a tail on him. He goes to Moscow, drops something off, whatever the case is. Gets pulled over there, but they don't do anything. They let him go. They don't search the car. They have shared information, obviously, because of their task force, but they let him go. And Brian Koberger sees this is all hypothetical, of course,
right?
But he sees something similar to that, and he sees a pattern in it. He's a high functioning autistic, so patterns pop out to him. Like it's like highlighter on a white page. So he sees these patterns and he starts to recognize these patterns, but he doesn't know that maybe Pullman's complicit too. Takes the information, writes up a report, takes it back to Pullman. Pullman shares his report with Moscow. Now he's on Moscow's radar.
So just to clarify too, because that's another big angle of that theory that we were just discussing is, did Brian catch them in something, or was this a full planning with Brian knowing and maybe being voluntold?
I don't think he knew, and I don't think he was voluntold.
Okay.
Just going off of the things that I've seen on your channel about him, on Jules's channel about him, on Bronx's channel, like about his history, knowing from his drug addiction, how like he literally became a vegan because he wanted to lose weight. Like he does things to the extreme. And when he quits something, he completely cuts it off, quits. There is no going back to it. Right. He stops cold turkey, and that's just it. I don't see him being voluntold something that he doesn't agree with. Like he's not, he's trusting, but he's not a fool. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see him being voluntold, and I don't see him knowing about it. I see him thinking that he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And then getting okey doked.
Which is it's just a sad, terrible situation if that's really what caused it. And now he is, which you want to know, it's even wilder to think about is he could have been told he's doing the right thing and have had some sort of mental assumption, and then it was too late. And now we're seeing the repercussions of that, where he's figured it out. Like, no, they were really about to cook me. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. They were literally about to let me go down for 4 life sentences for something that I initially started off agreeing to because it was, and I was told it was the right thing to do. That's crazy.
Exactly.
That's some sick stuff right there. But it's also, and I'm gonna let you go, Boober, in a second here, but it's also very sophisticated, complex operational build outs that they would work that in too. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying that they counted on Brian just being so willing. I think they picked and cast the absolute perfect man to be in his spot, being him.
I agree. And I mean, considering the evidence that they released, right? They've only released, I think Connor said they've released 60 gigs worth of data so far from it out of the almost 60 terabytes.
That's crazy.
So if all the evidence and everything that we're all going over and everything that's been foiled so far is literally like, it's 60 gigs out of 60 terabytes.
That's nothing.
That's 60% of 1 terabyte.
Right. It's so crazy. And man, I appreciate the call, Boober and Sammy. I am going to put you guys backstage. You guys rock, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend.
You too, man. God bless.
Peace. See ya. All righty. Next up, we got the Jodine. Jodine, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Birdie?
I'm doing great. What do you got for us this evening?
Okay, now, you know when the girls are going from the grub truck to Eric Gower's car?
Yes.
Could you possibly get that image up for me?
Yes. You're talking, just so I clarify, pull the right thing. You're talking the view across the street where you could see the grub truck. It's grainy as hell. Yeah. Okay. All right. That would be.
And I just want to, like, you know, when only available at not available on TikTok pointed out that the columns in the background of the picture are slanted when they should be straight down. Right.
So here we go. So you're talking
you see
these.
the arch?
Oh, right there, yeah.
Now those columns, somebody's proved that on normal days, and they've gone there in person, those columns come straight down. They're not diagonal. Which
I'm pulling up another picture.
Pretty much proof that there's some, editing gone on. Now, when the girls get in Eric Gower's car, yeah. Now, when the girls get in Eric Gower's car, it's navy blue, right?
Okay. Yes, I'm following you.
But let's just think about when Jack Showalter rang up to give his little, I don't really know Kaylee and the other girl or Maddie and the other girl. He said they got into a silver car, right?
Yes, I'm following you. I'm remembering this.
Lana, the other day, uncovered this silver car with all these girls in it and the White Claws in the boot.
Yep.
Surely there has to be a connection there.
I don't know how there couldn't be. And I'm pretty sure it was an Elantra, too.
Yeah.
Right?
And
it was a 2013 silver Elantra.
Yeah. Which looks white under street lights. White cars just look white. So it's that blurry anyway, and that little bit of footage that we get. And I won't stay on that. I just want to mention another little thing as well. That when all those friends are all sat together at the scene, and the police bring Murphy out, it screams guilty because not one says, "Hiya, Murphy. Hiya, boy."
That entire interaction, I know we're studying it, but it's so weird that
really is.
It doesn't. When I say it doesn't feel real, people are probably gonna be like, "Oh my god, what is Bernie saying?" No, I'm telling you that nobody's reaction seems like it is genuine. And I'm talking again, guys. We're watching them get the text for the homicides, and there's I've gotten texts, unfortunately, for people that I went to high school with that I've just heard, or I've seen something on Facebook. I'm like, my stomach drops, and I'm like, oh my, you know what I'm saying? And I haven't talked to them in a decade.
Yes. And then I'll say another thing where Chris Wickham is letting, he's sort of getting people to concentrate on that main room. And he's saying how it's an abundance of evidence. To me, what he's just pointing out is that the entire room is evidence in the fact that it's been staged, it's been thoroughly cleaned, it's probably been painted, and it involves a lot of people to do that. Because even if Kaylee and Maddie are killed first, there's no blood coming downstairs into that room. And if Xana and Ethan were killed first, there's no blood coming out of their room either. So there's your proof in that main room that something something's gone wrong. We all know something's not right with this case. And I'm just so glad Brian's fighting.
Well, and I think, so one thing that I realized today when I was editing the stream from last night where we were talking through it, I think you bring up a fantastic point. I might have been trying to go too granular on what Chris Wickham said. And it really could just be that he's talking to the same people that his book probably woke up. That's why I've said his book, there might be some inaccuracies.
I do think we have to read between the lines of his book, because he does still work in the field of authorities,
Oh, and I think you can read between the lines. Offend.
So he's really got to be careful. And I know he knows that the likes of you and other creators and then people who call in have all got the intelligence to look between the lines and, work it out. And I love being part of this community.
Well, I love having you a part of it. Is this your first time call, Jodine?
It is, yeah.
Why did you say that? Come on.
So nervous. No, I just talked as fast as I
could. You did fantastic, Jodine and I. Where are you from?
Thank you. Fleetwood in Lancashire.
Fleetwood. England. Well, what time is it there?
It is. Hang on. I need to clean my glasses. 3:20, 20 past 3 in the morning.
Well, you and all of the people that are across the pond in the UK, Australia, wherever the hell people are tuning in from, thank you for staying up. And Jodine, fantastic first call.
Thank you. So thanks a lot.
Night.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
I'll tell you what. Shout out to the algorithm for bringing in people from the UK and other countries. It's Australia and Canada. And if anybody's in a country outside the States, please feel free to type that into the chat. I'll put that on up. And Hive, we have the Big Amish Media. Big Amish. I feel like I haven't seen or talked to you, rather, because I know you've called in before, but man, it's great to see your name backstage. And how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Bertie. Thank you for having me. And let me clear the floor and thank you for reviewing that video and all the accolades you were giving me in kindness. Love that.
Well, I hope that it got the credit it deserved because, and you know, I know that you've tuned in before, and I know you know one of the premises of the Hive is, you know, we'll listen to everything. You can agree, disagree, but one of the things that I always, even if I disagree with people on, is if there's real effort put into somebody's work, you can tell through the screen, right? And so I think that very clearly came through in your video.
Well, I appreciate it. And Sammy as well. And the Hive, there were a lot of people came over, joined my channel. Appreciate that. All the love.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Keep on bamming. All right.
I love it.
But Sammy, awesome. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but I heard this from Zachariah and out of Lancaster, straight out of Lancaster.
Okay.
That Sammy has the hots for Mennonite men.
Sammy T Mafia.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sammy's listening right now.
Her favorite song, guess what it is? It's Raining Mennonites. Hallelujah. All right. No.
I wish Sammy was here right now because she would love that, man. That's hilarious.
All right. I'm grateful for that. And Philly Special is great as well. You know, providing that super chat. But put that aside.
Absolutely.
Yesterday I was in the chat and you wanted to focus kind of on the second floor, right, with that beer pong table. So, and we could go into other things that you were raising, parallel proceedings, whatever you want. But the one thing I want to just suggest, let's look at the charges. You have a burglary charge with 4 unalivings. If you remove the burglary charge, what do you have then? What do you really have? Because you were pointing to this yesterday. And that is, Thompson said there was no motive. And BK had nothing, right? He had no prior knowledge of 1120. There's no relationship there. So if you remove that burglary, what do you have? 4 unalivings can only occur from within. And you were bringing it up.
Holy shit. Hang on. I didn't even put that together because I'm thinking the burglary charge is just a charge that would essentially shield Dylan and Bethany legally. It would add another firewall to them being protected because technically under the victim codes in Idaho, they would be protected. But you're totally right because if you remove the burglary charge,
what do you got?
You just got 4 murders. Not just, but you have 4 homicides.
Right. But how do they happen if you don't have a burglary? It goes to what Wickham was saying, and you were saying kind of yesterday. You have to have the trust, right? You have to have the trust of those 4 victims, at the very least.
If you don't have a burglar, you don't have an outside perp, is what Tim Martin said.
Yes, it's gone. So it has to be within. Who did they trust so much at that time as well? We're talking about, you know, we could play around with the time a little bit, but it happened that night from the 12th into the 13th, early morning hours, however we want to say it. We know that Gower was one of the last people to see Maddie and Kaylee, right? That has its own works. But let's just look at the beer pong table. What do I see when I look at that? Right? You're going to say, well, clearly it wasn't a burglary, right? Because someone would be running through it and crashing it. Now you could argue that they staged it after. And there's plenty of reasons to believe that as well. But if we remove the burglary charge, now we're dealing with someone who knows the layout, knows these people intimately. So you could basically, and people have done this in college, you bring your friend to bed and whatever, put them to sleep, and you leave. They're intoxicated. But in this instance, it raises the question, right? Those people that you trusted the most, it's like et tu, Brute, right? You're getting stabbed in the back, literally and figuratively. Doesn't have to be by them, but it could be allowing them to be controlled where the timing is set for the real perpetrator who's committing the unalivings to do them, right? And it could be more than one, right? We know there's two weapons, at least two weapons and the like. So there's multiple perpetrators, but there has to be, in my opinion, numerous others involved in this setup. This is just
I'm following you.
But this is how I'm reading it, right? So you have two different crime scenes. That's what Chris Wickham said. But that beer pong table is important because it clearly wasn't a burglary. So they had to feel comfortable. So whether you believe the unalivings occurred in the bedrooms, right? That shows an intimacy and trust if it occurred in the bedrooms. And if it didn't occur in the bedrooms, they still had to gain their trust in how, and they would also, it would involve an alignment of interest of other individuals.
I like how you said that with the intimacy of the bedroom, whether it was maybe sexual or not. Clearly, if somebody's in your bedroom, it's an intimate situation in the general term of you know them and they're close enough with you to be there.
Absolutely. And if you want to take it one step further, again, I'm speculating now, but Mrs. Kernodle said something about a love triangle, right? Well, if that's true, I have no idea. It's her words. I have no idea what that means. And then we see Cyray talking about some gay corn with Brian Koberger. It just raises all these other issues. It could be a sidetrack, but again, it's the intimacy that we're talking about and being able to get in these bedrooms if it happened that way. So
I was going to ask you something legally real quick before you move on, and I'm forgetting it, but I'm hoping that it comes back to me. And that's I remember. So like Discord Dawn had thrown in the chat booty call, right? Kind of the analogy made where you're literally being stabbed in the back now because somebody didn't have your back. Yes. And they kind of set you up. Legally, do you see any way that if somebody really and genuinely doesn't know, like let's say Kaylee gets asked to come back, let's use that as the example.
Right.
And they had, being Dylan is what we've heard, really had no idea. I'm talking hypotheticals here. No idea, but it happens. Is that person more times than not legally held responsible because there was the motive to ask them to come back and be there +1 because this person wanted to get Kaylee back in town? Like if you, does that make sense? That would have to be investigated, but more times than not, do you think they're held or no?
A quick answer, no, and I'll tell you why, but it could be yes, and here's the caveat to it. So did Dylan know, was there a foreseeable zone of danger in that house? If Dylan knew about it and brought her back and assisted her and ignoring her calls because she said she heard Kaylee, that's a whole different, that's kind of the situation. It raises at least negligence, potentially, right? But don't forget the University of Idaho's liability. We're all looking at WSU and Steve G. Steve G filed a notice of claim against the University of Idaho at the same time as WSU in May of 2023. We don't know, did he settle that case? Maybe. Or was there a tolling agreement which allows him to finalize what's happening with WSU? And the PCR now throws a monkey wrench into his whole case because now what you normally would use the plea as basically a issue preclusion. You don't have to prove that these events happened, meaning BK was the responsible party for these unalivings. you would have to prove that WSU knew about these propensities and that the foreseeable zone in danger involved not only students at WSU, but, 8 miles away. So that, okay, so that's it. But the University of Idaho, I just want to bring this back, and you might know a lot more, but when it's rumored that there are vandal alerts issued way before the 9/11 911 call. If that is true, you have pre-knowledge of the university and who. And that pre-knowledge, did it lead to, how long was the delay? According to some, it said that 11/22, also a numerology issue. 11/22 is when vandal alert went out, according to some. I don't know, but leave the numerology issue aside. Clearly, there was some suggesting, or at least stating, that there was pre-knowledge of the university. Then it becomes an issue of, well, if you would have called emergency services at that point, because you now know that there are unalivings, not a passed out. You see what you're no longer a passed out friend or roommate. Now you know that there are unalivings.
I see what you're saying.
And also, did they get involved? This gets so intricate, but
it gets strategic.
It is. That's exactly right. All these moves are strategic. And just like the University of Idaho was looking to potentially purchase, right, the University of Phoenix. We almost have $1 billion on the table. Not close, but almost. You have that on the table. It wasn't announced then, but clearly they're doing due diligence, right? And the last thing they need is that to pop out. So you have that aspect of it. Then, if you want to bring up the Penn State analogy, the same thing happened at the University of North Carolina. There were colleges there, and I believe that happened in 2021. And it would fall under the same Operation Last Mile that you brought up as well. But to bring it back to Moscow, you could see then how frats would be involved. And frats would be involved in a sense of they have an alignment of interest. They wouldn't commit these unalivings without the permission of someone higher up, because you would screw around with someone's meals all day long, and that's not going to happen, right?
Well, it's like the darkest of theories.
Right.
But
if the frats were involved, this is how it would have to be, that they're not going to just do it alone, because you're going to mess around with a multi-million-dollar business, illegal one, but that's what you're going to be doing.
And what I meant, I followed you. Just to clarify what I meant by it's the darkest theories, meaning that it was greenlit to have essentially innocent lives taken for some other reason to further something else.
Absolutely. And that's there. How far up the chain it goes, I mean, we could brainstorm and talk about it. I don't want to go far afield yet, but certainly there's a lot of aspects to consider. Whether it's the the Farmington State Bank with the crypto that is just up the street and involves Steve Bankman-Fried. Was Steve G involved with this crypto? I don't know. Just speculating. But we're talking of billions of dollars that get donated to the DNC that was being screwed around. And our friend Scott Green at the University of Idaho is I'm sure, involved in at least fundraising in some aspects. So I just go ahead.
I was just going to say, dude, I feel like I'd love to do a full stream with you. I don't know if you have my email. I think you've emailed me. If you haven't, birdieshivemind@gmail.com. Let's get a date on the books, dude, because, as much as I enjoy the intricacy deep dives on a photo, on body cam, you guys know we've done that a ton. I feel like this type of conversation is also good for people, myself, actually, really. But I think it's good. I think there's a lot of people that have that same interest in how high up does this go, and not just talking about these shadowy Illuminati figures pulling the puppet strings. I mean, let's look at a paper trail, right? Like you had brought up Operation Last Mile, and I had said that was a part of the Take America Back. Trump does talk about it. Now let's look if there's any mechanisms in between, timing, overlaps, dates of court proceedings. And there could be just general things that are going on in a bigger picture that that for this to happen in the middle of it, if we widen the scope, like we have been able to do with this Penn State thing now, I think has opened some people's eyes. I think it'd be a very interesting conversation if you'd be interested.
I would love to. I would love to, but and we'll work that out. But to your point with President Trump, and we kind of talked about that a long time ago as well. His executive order, foreign terrorist organizations. What does that do, though? What did that provide Josh Hurwitz cover, or any other U.S. attorney general, for that matter, in states? So once you designate a FTO, a cartel as an FTO, you then have the ability to use national security at your leisure.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say at your leisure, but it certainly provides that. And people will think, well, how does this affect national security? Well, let's just take a very simple issue, and I'll show you how it involves federal jurisdiction. Let's assume someone had ADRIL, just a weird spelling of it. ADD, how about that?
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so a pill, a manufactured pill, right? And it causes a unaliving. Now, people say, well, that's local. What does that have to do with feds? My God. Well, prescription or a drug falls under federal jurisdiction exclusively. Now, you could allow the states to prosecute that or do whatever they want, but that is federal jurisdiction. No way around it if the feds choose to do it. Now, from there, you'll say, okay, let's push it one step further. Let's analyze that pill. And you're able to source it. They're able to determine the source, the origin source, the land where it actually comes from, the water that was used. That's how specific the feds could break down a pill and tell you exactly where it came from. So let's assume it came from Mexico, the Sinaloa cartel. Boom.
Hey, dude, I gotta say this, but they did do soil analysis, and that's where I think, like, reading between the lines, I'm like, some of the stuff that they say, and to your point of what you're now gonna say, they can go that granular. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. No. That's all. And I don't want to get a far afield, right? Because Operation Last Mile actually went to China. I mean, it goes from China
For the fentanyl stuff, yeah.
Then even crossing over into Canada. But one thing I do want to say about parallel proceedings, just from the beginning, 71 federal grand jury subpoenas that Ashley Jennings confirms in the Idaho Statesman, that she gave the information, all the information to defense counsel. Why is that important? Because she didn't give the actual copies of the federal grand jury subpoenas themselves. What's important about the subpoenas? On the cover page and the pages that would follow, it includes the federal crime. You have to have a federal crime as a predicate to impanel a federal grand jury. Without the federal crime, there can be no federal grand jury impaneled. You need its power, right? In federal court, you need a crime, or for them, a civil, right? A claim, let's say, like a WSU lawsuit. You need a law that's been violated, broken. That's what you had to get those federal grand jury subpoenas issued from a federal court, right? Now, we don't know which federal court. Very interesting. We don't know that because the subpoenas were never given to Ann Taylor. Ann Taylor had sought a motion to compel and a motion to suppress, trying to get the evidence. But we could all agree, I think we could, that 71 federal subpoenas is more than for one person. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Okay. So so I just want to go over a federal grand jury subpoena requires the federal crime, the target, the scope of the discovery that you would be requesting, and obviously who you're sending it to, but also the person requesting it, right? It could be, is it the grand jury themselves issuing it, or is it Josh Hurwitz? Ta-da!
Yep. Well, and that's why I want to get you on the stream, is to talk that angle, dude. And I'd like to, give you the floor and just kind of be pulling stuff up, or I could prep stuff. But yeah, man, shoot me an email, and thank you for calling in tonight.
Love you. Love everyone.
Brother.
Love the Hive.
And Sammy T Mafia loves you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, brother. You have a good weekend.
All right, you got it. Bye.
Peace. All righty, Hive. We got our final caller. We got Tabitha. Tabitha, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for being so patient.
First time caller.
And we get to end on a first-time caller. Automatic GOAT award. I love it. Thank you so much, Tabitha. What do you got for us tonight?
Mine is a little different. I think that it was by kids that were bullied by them. Just the hate was, on Kaylee. It seems like it's more than just a killing, it's hate is what I think. I think that they were bullied by them. I think that there was definitely more than one. And
You're saying that the victims were being bullied?
no, the victims were bullied.
Bullying. Okay, so because that's what I just wanted to clarify. And so does this kind of go back a little bit to the Hannah Cleary situation?
Right, is it the Snapchat or whatever where they said they got what they deserved?
Yeah, we'd shown those, and it was they had, I believe. Shoot, did they room with them, or they lived on the same floor as them? And the girl had ended up self-unaliving that whole situation, yeah. And then we showed those messages that straight up. I mean, they were nasty messages.
Right? Yeah. I just thought it should have been investigated a little, more into the. I don't know. I think there were a lot of girls they bullied, and not so much Xana and Ethan as Kaylee and Maddie,
Well, you bring up a good point. With that being said, we look at going back to the first call with what Deadman Awake had said. With there's like Ethan and Xana that exist, and it feels like a different social circle than Kaylee and Maddie. But Brian seems to apply more to Kaylee and Maddie. Now, the bullying thing. That was something that there was a pretty big uptick of that when those posts were originally posted back in the beginning. And obviously, Hannah Cleary, that's being talked a lot about on TikTok compared to YouTube with some of those posts. And they changed the timestamp with AI, and is Hannah Cleary in the grub truck photo at 4:10 or whatever that timestamp is. I'm not sure, but to say the bully thing, so is it more of a Mean Girls type thing where did it trace back to that and somebody's getting revenge? I mean, to say that even if you're not involved with bullying, or if you are, to publicly put that out there on a public facing profile with your picture and full name that they deserved it is wild. It's a different level of hate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, just who you hear about Kaylee and how brutal, she was beat. I mean, just it was hate. It was hate, That's what I think anyway. If you want to kill somebody, you just kill them, quick.
Shoot them, something.
Right. I mean, it just seems personal.
It does seem very personal. And so, were you originally heard about this case? Had you always thought that Bride was innocent, or did you switch sides? Where did you start on this?
And then I kind of thought it was him and somebody else, because I said there's no way he could have done it by himself. But now I'm like, he is so innocent. I feel bad. I feel real, I mean, it's just terrible. And I hope he gets a new trial, but everybody's, talking like it ain't going to happen.
Man, I hope he gets a new trial too, for our own kind of selfish reasons of getting to see the evidence and some of the stuff that can get battled out between experts. But watch it be one of the most, I guess not even one of the most, watch it just continue to follow this pattern of the case where, yeah, there'll be a trial, not televised, closed trial hearings, all this stuff. It's going to be redacted. I'll lose my mind if that happens, because that's just, I don't even know what word I could use to describe it. But I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't go to trial, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did. We didn't get to see anything still. It would just be insane. But I totally agree with you that there seems to be such an obvious level of this being personal to not have that accounted for in anybody's mind that even thinks it could be Brian is wild to not include that, given if you followed this case, there's no connection. So how can it be personal?
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's just what I think anyway.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to call in and be patient backstage. You got anything else for us, or do you just want to call in and share that quick thought? Because that's totally fine too.
Thank you.
Yes, you have a great night. Thank you so much, Tabitha. Cheers. Hive and that is going to do it for this evening. I want to make sure I get to these gifts. Tabitha, thank you for the jewels. Blue-Eyed Kid, he said, extortion, aggravated, overt threats. Why did the FBI classify the ID4 case like this? I do know that Christopher Whitcomb gave a reason that they have to classify certain cases in a certain way. Off the top of my head, I'm not going to be able to rattle it off. I know that if you go to Lana's most recent interview with Chris Whitcomb, I believe, or the Custody Queens, one of those two, that was talked about. And it was, it seemed to be a pretty simple, straightforward answer as far as how he answered it. So I would say maybe go and watch that. I need to refresh my memory on it. But yeah, I remember seeing that and I'm like, there's the 4 victims' names. There's Brian Koberger's and it's classified as extortion and overt threats. Wild to me. But Blue-Eyed Kitty, always very kind of you. Thank you so much for the big super chat. And same to you, Laura and Hook'em Horns. Welcome to High Plus. Tabitha is just going bananas with the jewels. Not as dumb as you look, said, missed my super chat on Wednesday. Shoot. Sorry about that. Was about this Penn State thing too. I'm looking at similarities, but this could also explain some ODs, kids that don't use, no drugs, or how some need to be handled. I think that the Penn State, as we've been saying, the Pablo Pledge Escobar, not we, I guess I've been saying that. I saw that once and I'm just like, that is so funny. It's opened people's eyes that yes, frat/student confidential informants can have information that is being bubbled upwards into something that's massive. And my gut tells me that something's going to come out about the drugs very soon, like officially. I don't see how it's been avoided this long, whether that be motive, whether that be ingestion, whether that be something. I don't know, but it seems like it has to almost at this point. It's getting to a breaking point where narratively, whenever that's happened in the past, they've had to make some sort of adjustment to it, and I feel like that's coming. Thank you, Lore and Krista. Thank you for the jewels. Blue-Eyed Candy, Goat Award again, 5 High Plus memberships, and Splendid Melancholy coming in with a $20 super chat said, love this group of brainiacs. I believe attendance shall be mandatory from this point forward, please. Well, I would agree with that, Splendid Melancholy. We do have a fantastic community. It's not just a channel. I feel like this is a community. And shout out to everybody who's been here for a while, or if you're brand new, welcome. And it's turned into something amazing, and it's only going to continue to get better as we continue onward in this case and many others to come. And so, Hive, with that, thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to all the callers, first-time callers, many-time callers. I hope you all have an awesome weekend. I will be back Monday. I'm not doing a war room tomorrow. And make sure that you check out my mini series. I'll be posting episode 1 Monday, and I'll make a YouTube post about that as well as in Discord. Cheers, everybody. Sleep good.